What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show presented by Manta Sleep Mask. Today, the Blazers get their 20th win of the season as they beat the Charlotte Hornets 89-86 in an ugly offensive game. Ugly offense in this one. Both teams failed to reach 90, but the Blazers lose by winning this game. And we're going to talk about all of that. You guys know the situation. The Blazers have been chasing the Hornets in the tanking race. Unfortunately, it looks like that is now going to be impossible. We're going to take a look at the tankathon picture, which doesn't look as good as it did before this game. Eric will be on shortly, and hopefully I have no internet issues. Early streams, I tend to have internet issues. I tried to fix it. I bought some cables. I don't have a splitter for them. The splitter is all messed up. I don't know. It's internet stuff. Hopefully my internet lasts. If this stream lags out, we'll try again. Internet's been rough lately, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we're good for today. But chat, how are you feeling about this Blazer win? Because the Blazers beat a team that they were chasing in the tank race, and I mean, that's what we have to root for at this time of year, every year. Bryce, I've been running Ethernet, and it's still been a problem, so it's more so something else. How do you guys feel about this? Because all we get to root for in April is ping pong balls and development. Listen, very happy with how Scoot played today. This was a very good game from Scoot. His best game, I think, since coming back from that injury that sidelined him past the All-Star break. Other than that, good defense, I guess, but man, Charlotte sucks. I mean, they just literally can't make a shot. 5 for 31 from behind the three-point line for the Charlotte Hornets. They shoot 41% from the field, 16% from three. Just disgusting shooting numbers from them. The Blazers shot the ball better at 27%, 7 for 26. But Scoot for the day, 22 points, 10 assists, 6 turnovers, 9 for 16 from the field, 4 for 7 from three. Scoot made threes today and had a good game because of it. So good for him. And Ayton, 24 and 16. I mean, the Blazers, if they rested him, probably would have lost this game. There's really nobody else on the team with a performance worth talking about, which is crazy because they won the game. We got a 5 for 13 night from Banton, not too good. 4 for 17 night from Jabari Walker, not too good. They're doing their part in trying to command the tank. To Jabari's credit, though, with all the misses from the Hornets, he got a lot of them. He got 22 rebounds, which is phenomenal for Jabari. So, that looked good, but literally, Scoot and Ayton combined for 46 of the Blazers' 89 points. That's more than half. And we're the only two players to shoot above 50% from the field. Crazy stuff. The Hornets ran out their own tanking lineup, seeing JT Thor start. Trey Mann played 35 minutes. You got Leaky Black, North Carolina legend, playing in this game. Marcus Bolden, I believe he played at Duke's. So they're trying to keep those North Carolina college players in Charlotte. I mean, you're just talking about a bunch of guys that aren't NBA caliber players playing in this one for Charlotte, and they end up losing to the Blazers. And, Tyler James says, ugh, Torrey's being positive. I don't feel positive at all right now. I'm very bummed. I was rooting extremely hard for Charlotte. And this is what we get this time of year. We have to root for the Blazers to lose because we have to root for hope for the future. And hope for the future for me right now, there's one game changer in this draft that I think would be huge for the Portland Trail Blazers. And that is Alex Sarr. And he might not even go number one. The Blazers might not even have to get the number one pick. If they get the number 2 pick, they could get him. Right now, he probably goes 1 or 2. I don't see him falling to 3 with Topic's injury and draft stock plummeting, but the Blazers were so close to maximizing their odds to get Alex Sarr. The San Antonio Spurs they're chasing. The Spurs have looked like a playoff team lately. They lost their last game, but it was on the road against Denver, and they lost by 5. Wemby almost had a quadruple-double. That dude is insane. Of course, the Blazers were one ping-pong ball away from getting him, but as far as this game goes, real bummer, man. I do not feel good about the Blazers winning this game. I feel good about the way Scoot played. Ayton, he's had good games. He's a veteran. You kind of expect him to have good games against crappy lineups that the Charlotte Hornets are throwing out there. And then I honestly don't even feel too good about anyone else. Literally, the only thing I feel good about from this game is Scoot Henderson. Yes, it was a bad team, but we've seen Scoot struggle against bad teams a lot this year. And seeing him go 4 for 7 from 3 was definitely nice to see. Right? Chris Murray does that and we throw a parade. So, good shooting night from Scoot. Good performance from him, but man, the Blazers were so close to top 3 odds. And top 3 odds are all even. The only difference between 1, 2, and 3 is if you're not selected in the top 4, it changes the order you're in. So the number 1 team, if they're not top 4, the worst they can be is 5th. The number 2 team, the worst they can be is 6th. The 3rd place team, worst they can be is 7th. But at that point, that range, it doesn't really matter. There's no difference between 5th and 7th for the most part. You got a lot of even caliber players there, in my opinion. So, overall, the Blazers chasing 3rd best odds. Yes, I know it's not a huge percentage difference, but I'll take an extra 4% chance at the number 1 pick. And an extra, 10% chance of being top 4? That's what we got to root for this time of year, unfortunately. And just a real bummer that the Blazers ended up pulling out this win. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be happy about it because I don't pretend to feel any sort of way. Why is Ayton still playing? That is a good question. Let's just take a look at Tankathon. We'll do a Tankathon sim before Eric gets here and see if we're lucky with or without him. I mean, we're pretty unlucky today with the loss. Then again, the Blazers were 5th place odds last year, and they did move up to 3, but the 4th place odds were the Spurs, and they, of course, moved up to 1 to get Wembanyama. So without further ado, let's just take a look at this tanking picture as it stands right now. That soundboard is a perfect soundboard. Perfect soundboard. Because this tanking picture is brutal. Brutal now. Blazers 5th, 2 games away from San Antonio. Listen, they might be able to catch San Antonio because San Antonio's winning games, but the Blazers have Washington up next. Washington has been playing better. They're 4-6 in their last 10 too. They're pretty much locked into their odds. Right now, with Charlotte and San Antonio tied, they even out the odds, but the Blazers right now have a 42% chance of the top 4. Could have gotten a 52% chance. But maybe in May we'll be saying we're happy the Blazers won this game because they move up from 5-1 or 5-2. But this is the tanking picture. Unfortunately, you also have Golden State looking like they did during that hot run earlier this year. They've won 5 in a row. Luckily, they are still 2 games back of the Los Angeles Lakers. They are 3 games back of Phoenix and Sacramento. Phoenix has a chance of falling into the 9th seed if the Lakers can keep winning. Lakers won 8 out of 10. Golden State Warriors won 7 out of 10. Unfortunately, Houston's lost 2 in a row. They won 10 in a row, then they lost 2 in a row. So 3-game separation here. It looks like Golden State is not going to move up to 12. It looks like Portland is not going to move up to 3 or 4. And with Toronto losing literally every game, I mean, Blazers win 3 more games and their odds get worse. I don't think that'll happen. But they do have Washington. And they might play some teams down the stretch that aren't playing for anything because they're locked into a seed or locked into home court advantage or something. But right now, very, very likely that Portland ends up 5th. Is it a good thing, though? It is a good thing. Maybe. We'll see. Because Washington falls to 5. At 4, you got Detroit. At 3, you got Charlotte. At 2, you got San Antonio. And at 1, you got the Portland Trailblazers. Guys, I guess it's a good thing. We won this game. Okay. Makes me feel a little bit better, even though this is completely meaningless. But I do get to play the soundboard. That's the pinnacle of being a Blazer fan right there. We'll see how we do when Eric gets back. We'll see how we do. Anyway, chat, I'll take questions. Scoot looked good today. Don't like the 6 turnovers. 10 assists, though. You're kind of okay with 6 turnovers as Scoot if he's getting 10 assists, especially without much shooting around him. 10 assists in a game like this, where the team shot under 40% from the field and under 27% from 3 is pretty dang good. 9 for 16, so he's 5 for 9 inside the arc. solid. 4 for 7 from 3. He was 0 for 2 from the free throw line. Final minute, he missed 2 free throws. He remembered to do his part in the tank commander role, but, you know, his performance obviously led to this win. He was huge tonight. And hopefully we get more good games out of Scoot. I'm not really sure if losing or winning games the rest of the season is going to matter because I don't think Charlotte wins 2 games. And the San Antonio, I'm not sure. So really, rest of the season, we have to root for Scoot to keep playing well. Other than Scoot, though, Repair 1 for 5. Chris Murray 3 for 6. 0 for 2 from 3, though. Still not hitting threes. Jabari Walker 4 for 17 is insane. He's 3 for 14 inside the arc. I like Jabari, man, but it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Banton, as I said earlier, 3 for 10. Duop Reith didn't even play well. 3 for 10 in 11 minutes. That's a lot of shots. Ashton Hagen's 0 for 4. Brutal shooting night. Gotta mute the ad. Tori, what's your Tankathon record without Eric? I think we've moved up all 3 times. I'm not sure, though. Taylor Packer says, it's funny, out of all the trash basketball I've watched this season, this is by far the most disappointed I've felt. I just have a feeling this win costed us a big win when the lotto is revealed. Yeah, I mean, people have been checked out, and then this game actually had something on the line. Just, if the Blazers lost, it would have been good. I'm tired of rooting for ping pong balls, man. This is 3 years in a row. Unfortunately, what's best for this team is to lose a game like this, and then probably next year also be in play for as good of a pick as possible, because next year's draft looks really, really good. Ace Bailey, Cooper Flaggen, one of those 2 guys would immediately change the trajectory of this franchise. Unfortunately, this year's draft is not that good. I've heard some people use the fact that the top of this draft is not that good to explain why people shouldn't worry about losing games, shouldn't worry about lottery odds, because, I mean, there's nobody game-changing in this year's draft. I think Sarr is head and shoulders above anyone else in this draft class, and I think Sarr would make a ton of sense for this Blazer team that needs size, has been going small ball constantly for a long time now. You get a big that can play the 4 or the 5, defend potentially 1 through 5, switch out onto guards, and projects as an elite rim protector and has offensive upside, moves well, could be a guy that could guard Chet, Wemby. Like, you need somebody to match up with those guys long term. Could have a huge defensive impact. Sarr is... this Blazer team needs Alex Sarr. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody else from this draft class is going to be game changer status like Alex Sarr. There are good prospects left, and there are guys that I would love to get in a Blazer uniform. They might be available even if the Blazers don't move up. Matas Buzelis could fall to 6, could fall to 7, right? He's number 2 on my board right now. Ron Holland, in a lot of mock drafts, falls to 6, 7, 8, even as low as 10, 11, 12, late lottery. That's a guy who could be a perimeter lockdown defender in the league, who has some offensive potential. He just needs to learn how to shoot. Okay? There are guys in this class that I like more than a guy like Zachary Risache, right? That could be available if the Blazers don't move up into the top 4. So, from that standpoint, the difference between 4th and 7th I don't think is that huge. Because I think if the Blazers were picking at 7th, one of Buzelis or Holland is going to be available. I'm cool with either. Or Cody Williams even. Right? But I am very disappointed because I really want Alex Sarr in a Blazer uniform next year. Really want Alex Sarr in a Blazer uniform. I think that would be huge. Eric says we lost. Let's go. No, we lost the tanking Super Bowl, which means we won, Eric. Look at the score on the graphic. I think he might be trolling. Hopefully. I'm really bad at detecting trolling. I wonder if I got anybody with the thumbnail, though, where I said the Blazers lost the tanking Super Bowl. Eric says, aw, damn. Yeah, Eric, we won. We won, man. It looks like he who must not be named was right. We are locked into 5th. Eric says, I just saw Blazers lose. Yeah, they lost the tanking Super Bowl. But yeah, I really want Alex Sarr in a Blazer uniform. I think he's a game changer. I think he'd be great for this Blazer team. Would immediately change the way this team looks defensively. Would give the Blazers size and skill, which they need. They need somebody in the front court with a skill other than just hitting mid-range shots. Sarr is raw, but he has potential to be a 3-level scorer. He has the potential to be somebody that can attack off the perimeter, when run off the line. He moves well. I love Alex Sarr as a prospect in this draft. So, that's why I'm bummed. Is because I want the Blazers to maximize their chances to get him because he's head and shoulders above the rest. And if they don't get him, honestly, let's say he goes number 1. I don't think I'd want the Blazers to be number 2 because I don't really want Zachary Reese-Shea more than Amatas Buzelis or Ron Holland. That's kind of the equation going into the draft this year, going into the lottery. John F. says next game is going to be tough. We're going to need to do some creative ting to get this done. I mean, I think the Blazers are pretty much 5th. I think there's a good chance that neither Charlotte nor San Antonio wins 2 more games this season. I think San Antonio is more likely than Charlotte, though. Maybe we trade up. You think Cronin could pull that off? Teams don't normally trade down. Normally it's not worth it, and then if it doesn't pan out, you look really bad. Just like when the well, actually, no, it's the opposite, because the Sixers traded down from... No, they traded up from 3 to 1 and looked bad because they took Fultz. Boston traded down from 1 to 3 and got Tatum. But most of the time, you don't see that. Most of the time, you don't see teams trade down from 1 or 2, especially in a draft like this. There's a team that's going to be 1 or 2 that falls in love with the potential of an Alex Sarr and takes him. I don't think a trade up is in the cards, and even then, it's like, okay, so what? You're missing out on the late lottery pick? You're missing out on what assets, right? It would be better just to win the lottery. Obviously, Blazers still can. They still have a 10% chance. They were 1 number away from 5th best odds last year, so it's not necessarily that the Blazers are going to get screwed. It's just, given our luck, I want to maximize our odds. Absolutely. So that's really where we're at right now. I wish I wasn't rooting for losses this time of year. Truly. I wish you guys weren't rooting for losses this time of year. It's sad that is the sticking point right now. And basically the conversation since the All-Star break has been like, how hard do we root for losing? But that's where this organization is. Obviously, year 1 of a rebuild. Maybe you can say it's year 3 of a rebuild. That's where you're going to be at. I'm not saying the Blazers shouldn't even rebuild next year or embrace losing next year and try and get the number 1 pick. It just sucks rooting to lose and then winning. It's not natural. So, I'm going to do a chat poll. How do you feel about the Blazers winning this game? This is kind of a therapy session until Eric gets here. And then we'll see how where Eric takes this show. Good. Let's see, we got... Why does it want me to type good morning? That doesn't make sense. Meh. Not good. Awful. There's your chat poll chat. Curious to see what you vote. Shout out to Kyle Wilson. $2 donation. Says, who's having a worse offseason, OSU or the Blazers? I mean, Oregon State, because they're getting basically relegated and everybody's transferring and their coach left. Like, I don't envy Oregon State right now. You guys are going through a lot. I feel for you. Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. While you guys vote on that chat poll, also leave your thoughts regarding that chat poll in the description box below. While you guys do that, I want to thank our sponsor for this post-game show, Manta Sleep Mask. Struggling to sleep at night, or do you want to relax during the day? Manta Sleep Mask has you covered. Their super comfortable, durable, adjustable, one-size-fits-all sleep masks will get you a good night's rest. But it can also help you relax during the day as well. And that's because these sleep masks block out all light, and you can also get them with cooling cups or steam cups. So whether you're falling asleep at night and want to use the Manta Sound Mask to fall asleep to some white noise, or if you've come home after a long day of work and want to de-stress with the steam cups, Manta has you covered with whatever your needs might be. For me, my days are pretty hectic. Running a business is no easy feat. I love to lay down, put on the Manta Sound Mask, and listen to some guided meditation as it really helps me slow down during the day. I heard from a lot of you that bought a Manta Sleep Mask around Christmas time, and the reviews have been nothing but positive. So if you want to hook yourself up with a Manta Sleep Mask, check out the link in the description box below and use the promo code Uprise on checkout, as it'll give you a 10% discount on your Manta purchase. It's also a great way to support the channel, so check out Manta Sleep Mask and get yourself a good night's sleep. Now back to the post-game show. I need to meditate right now. that's what I could use right now. Some de-stressing, some meditation after this game. Shout out to Manta Sleep Mask. Use that code. Help out the channel. Help out yourself. Get a good night's sleep. Especially tonight. I need a good night's sleep tonight. I need to meditate. I need to sleep well. I need to forget this game. Shout out to Clearly a Bot. Member for 30 months. Says, team frustrates me, but this channel is great. Thank you. Thank you, Clearly a Bot. Appreciate you as always. As far as the chat poll goes, we got 38% of you say not good, 31% say awful, 12% say good. I'm happy for you that the 12% of you that said you feel good, I'm happy for you. 18% of you that said meh, I'm also happy for you. At least Scoot was nice, absolutely. I mean, that's the one thing that we're not going to debate about, obviously, is Scoot was good. That was great. That's the positive of a win like this. Scoot was the best player on the floor. He outplayed the guy taken ahead of him. He also outshot him, which is kind of crazy. So I love to see Scoot play well in Charlotte because that's the team that passed on him. It would have been perfect if he did it in a loss, obviously, but you do like to see Scoot, in a way, stick it to the team that passed on him. Obviously, I don't include San Antonio in that because they were obviously going to take Wemby for good reason, right? But the debate, if you guys remember, all offseason was, is Charlotte going to take Scoot or Brandon Miller? Unfortunately, Brandon Miller has been better than Scoot this season. Unfortunately, that has looked like a good call, in a way, for Charlotte all season long. But that debate it's not over. It's not over. Brandon Miller's a big wing. A little bit easier to get going right away once you get to the league. Scoot Henderson, a point guard, that's the hardest position to learn as you jump to the NBA. And Scoot has definitely had his growing pains. There have been other point guards taken with a high draft pick that have struggled a lot as rookies and ended up becoming stars. But I will say, every time we have that conversation, everybody always focuses on the stars. There are rookie point guards that were drafted high, struggled their rookie season, never amounted to much. The point being, we don't know exactly what Scoot's going to be. Brandon Miller, as a rookie, has had a better rookie season, but it doesn't matter how good their rookie seasons are, because neither of the teams are playing for anything other than ping pong balls right now. If anything, I wish Brandon Miller was a little bit better for Charlotte so they could have won a couple more games and maybe won tonight. Brandon Miller had a chance to go ahead in this game. Hornets down 1, and the shot attempt he had was disgustingly bad. So, wish he was a little better there. But the point being, rookie season doesn't really matter for these guys. These teams aren't playing for anything. Obviously, you can take a look at rookie seasons and say, this player's going to be really good. This player is better than we thought. You can come to some conclusions about the long term from rookie seasons. But end of the day, good to see a game like this from Scoot. This debate is not over. It was good to see him outplay Brandon Miller. That is my positive for the day. Taylor Packer says, yeah, they always bring up Garland, but Scoot's numbers are also almost identical to Emmanuel Moutier's, LOL. Yeah, Now, Moutier was a little different because he was like 6'5", right? And I think he wasn't quite the athlete that Scoot is and just relied upon his size. That wasn't enough of an advantage at the NBA level. Also, Scoot is a rookie. I don't know. His shot since coming back from that early injury and that 2 for 24 start, I think has been better than Moutier's. But that's the thing. There is comparisons to Scoot that are guys that struggled as a rookie that became great, and guys that struggled as a rookie and were awful. Like, their struggles as a rookie were indicative of who they were as an NBA player, which wasn't as good of a prospect as people thought when they got drafted. Emmanuel Mudiay, good example of that. Hopefully Scoot isn't in that class. Hopefully he's in the Garland class. Fingers crossed for that. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Moutier on his rookie season shot 32% from 3 and basically stayed there his entire career. Scoot right now is shooting, after tonight, he is, let me do the math here, 72 for 232. Let me calculate that. Where's my phone at? 72, 232, which is 31%. So pretty identical, pretty similar. You just have to hope that as he gets more comfortable, works on his shot more, he'll be better than that. Tonight he was. Best shooting game of his career. I think this is the first game that he hit 4 threes or more his entire season. So 4 for 7 from 3, you love it. 10 assists, you love it. 6 turnovers, still has to clean it up a little bit more. Matt Cardell says, to be fair, Scoot was supposed to be more NBA ready than most rookies because of his stint in with the G League Ignite. That was the misconception and the assumption people shouldn't have made with the G League Ignite. Yes, it's a higher level than college, but that doesn't mean that just because you play well in the G League doesn't mean you're ready to play in the NBA, because it's still a different game. It's still a different level of play. And the thing is with Scoot is his game in the G League did have some translatability issues going into the NBA. There's certain things as a point guard you have to be able to do in the NBA that you can get away with not doing at lower levels. Such as changing pace, having a tighter handle, some of his finishes around the rim, maybe some predictability where he got by at lower levels because of his sheer athleticism, but against NBA-level athletes, he became easier to defend, right? There is multiple little nuanced things that don't translate from the G League to the NBA. Where a player might be worse at that level, a little worse at that level than Scoot was last year, but they have more of those nuances that you need at the next level, and they can make that jump to the NBA a little bit easier. And that is the whole art of scouting prospects from both the G League Ignite as well as overseas, as well as college basketball, is certain guys' games will translate directly to the NBA level. Certain guys' games, they won't be able to play the same way. Their games won't translate the same way. That is why you have guys that get taken in the second round that become MVPs like Jokic, and guys that are taken number 1 like Anthony Bennett that never translate into anything, right? That's why you have your Emmanuel Mudiay's and your Darius Garland's and your De'Aaron Fox's. Scoot struggled a lot this year because of issues within his game that made it hard to translate the way he played last year for the Ignite to the NBA level. And that's why he wasn't NBA ready despite playing for the Ignite and playing decent for the Ignite. And that's why I've been patient with Scoot all year. Because there's lots of nuances that he has to learn. And I was saying this before the season, that people needed to be patient with him. And then he struggles and people start freaking out. People start freaking out the moment he struggles. You have YouTubers making videos about how he's already a bust 2 weeks into the season and he's already this, he's already that. Like, people legitimately worrying about how he's going to be when he's 25 because of how he looked at 19. He was supposed to be NBA ready. Cronin said he's not any normal rookie, right? Like, I've argued a little bit with Eric in terms of me being a little bit more, I don't know, how do I phrase this? Because it's not like Eric's not patient with them. And Eric can talk about this when he hops on here soon. It's not that Eric hasn't been patient with them. Eric's been a little bit more frustrated with them. And I do share some of his frustrations in terms of Scoot getting back on defense. Some hustle effort things that Scoot needs to be better about. But in terms of like worrying in general, I feel like most people have worried about him more than me this season. And it's simply because my expectations, I was maybe hopefully optimistic that, yeah, maybe he can be a guy that contends for Rookie of the Year, right? I think I even hyped that up a little bit before the season. But also, I was prepared for him to struggle because you never know exactly how guys are going to translate to the league off the bat, especially at a point guard position, especially with Scoot not being the greatest shooter, not being super efficient in the G League last year. There were definitely some concerns there that his struggles this season shouldn't have completely shocked people. Right? But he does have talent. He does have athletic ability. I don't know if he's 100% athletically returning from that core injury that he dealt with over the All-Star break. He's got rim checked on a dunk against Miami. There's been certain plays where I'm like, man, is he really 100%? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know that. It would just be speculation. But the rest of the season for Scoot, if he plays well, you can feel good about it. If he struggles, not really anything to worry about. Not anything to get too frustrated about, in my opinion. Because he works hard. I'm looking forward to him having an off season to work on nuances that he struggled with this season. And I think he'll come back a different looking player next year. Now, he's not going to shoot 4 for 7 from 3 every game. That would be insane. But you hope that the three-point shot being a little better, 35, 36%, on top of him figuring out how to finish better at the rim, I mean, that completely transforms his game. Per 36, he did average 17 and 6 so far this season. 17.3 points, 6.4 assists. A lot of rookies don't pass the ball as well as they do a couple years down the line. Halliburton, he was playing more off the ball because he was playing off Fox, but he wasn't a 11 assists per game guy when he got into the league. Even Luka, right? And Luka was kind of used a bit like he's used now. He was pretty ball dominant for a rookie when he came into the league. One Rookie of the Year, averaged 21 points per game. Still only 6 assists per game in 32 minutes. Per 36, 6.7 assists. Almost identical to Scoot right now, right? I'm not saying Scoot's going to become a guy that averages 9 assists a game, but you do have to, in my opinion, be happy with his playmaking so far this season, although I was hoping he would have turned it over a little bit less. I feel like expectations for his passing was maybe a little too high for a rookie, because most rookies don't average 8-9 assists a game. It's asking too much. Tyler James, of course, Del Curry, the Hornets broadcaster, is not going to be impressed with Scoot, given that the Hornets passed on Scoot. There is definitely some bias there. But yeah, I mean, per 36, 6.5 assists for a rookie. You look at a lot of guys that have ended up averaging 9, 10, 11 assists per game in the same allotment of minutes as a rookie. They averaged about the same amount of assists. The problem is Scoot, per 36, averages 4.2 turnovers a game. Like, that's not great, right? It's just cutting down the turnovers a little bit more, being a little bit crisper as a passer. If he had better talent around him, he'd probably be a better playmaker. I think he needs to pick his spots a little bit more when he drives. But I feel like he's not too far away from being productive. It's just reining in the consistency with that three-point shot. Okay. Improving a bit with that three-point shot. Picking his spots when he tries to finish a little bit better. Getting better with his left hand. There's a very clear-cut roadmap for him to become an impactful player. Like a legitimately impactful player. And it's very clear like what he needs to work on. That's the thing with Scoot. He still has potential, man. And I haven't really changed my opinion on his long-term potential too much, given his struggles this year. You look at a guy like Jabari Walker, it's like, okay, where's his path to becoming a super impactful player? He has to make a far bigger improvement three-point shooting-wise than even Scoot needs to. Scoot's a better shooter than him right now. And then, like, off the dribble game, I mean, yeah, Jabari would be super impactful if he could attack guys off the dribble, handle the ball, run a pick and roll, average 4 or 5 assists per game. He's not particularly close to that. Like, I have no faith in him ever being able to do that, which is fine, but that's why he's projected as a career role player. There's things with Scoot where I feel like he's not too far away from being more than just a role player. But he just needs time. He needs an offseason to work on him. He needs more NBA reps. But he's 20. He has that time. It's not like he's sitting here at 27 and he's going to start declining athletically soon. Right? And he puts in the work. So, this Scoot game was great. I still feel really good about Scoot long term. I am not worried about Scoot long term. I think people this season were a bit too reactionary regarding his struggles. Do you guys agree with me in chat? Do you guys disagree? Let me know what you think. I'm just asking Eric when he's going to be on. Let me know what you think of the chat. Well, I just want to see what you guys have to say. "36% of you say you felt awful. 28% say you feel not good." That is 64% of you not feeling good about this game. Only 11% of you say you feel good. I'm right there with you. Right there with you. You're not answering. Well, I don't have Skype open, not gonna lie. So I was just waiting on a message from you, Eric. Hello. I do not have Skype open. I did not see your call. I was just waiting for the message. How long were you waiting for?
Just a couple minutes.
Okay, good. I just went on a whole Scoot dialogue.
Yeah, I heard it.
What percentage do you agree with? 70%? 80%? 0%? How much are you with me?
I want to be with you 100%. I wish I was. I feel like it's a little bit hindsight to talk about how he wasn't ready. I don't think we were saying any of that before the season.
I mean, there was some optimism going into the season. I'm not saying that we expected him to not play a little better than this.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think any of that conversation happened until after some of the preseason games when he struggled a little bit.
It's basically like you're going in with hopes that he can be everything he's hyped up to be, but also in the back of my mind, I thought there could be a chance that he struggled, but it wasn't like a strong enough feeling for me to sit here and say, guys, Scoop might struggle. You do remember me preaching people are going to need to be patient, and I am worried about if he struggles, people becoming too impatient with them. That's because that's what I was thinking in the back of my mind. So, yes, it is a little bit of hindsight, but it's not full hindsight.
But I think those conversations were after the season started. I'm talking about, like...
I swear I said people are going to need to be patient before the season. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like those conversations happened after he started playing actual games. Because, like, we were pretty hyped the preseason game, even though he got hurt. I mean, not preseason, the summer league game. He gets off to a great start in his first 4 shots and stuff. And then I felt like he was pretty hyped all summer. I don't remember too much talk about, we need to temper our expectations. You might struggle. Like, I think that was only after he started struggling. But I don't remember for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the hindsight makes sense, though. He wasn't super efficient in the G League. This is the tough thing about scouting prospects is it's kind of hard to see how nuances they don't have at the next level that they can get away with at lower level. It's kind of hard to truly tell until you see them play at the next level. That's why you have NBA front offices that have whole scouting departments dedicated towards scouting prospects properly. They miss all the time because it is kind of impossible to tell. But I feel like it was possible to see these potential struggles coming.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, for sure. I'm just saying, I don't think we were quite dialed in with that before the season that we maybe should have been.
Yeah, it's just like looking at clips of him playing in the G League, because I do look at G League clips occasionally with him, and it's like, there's plays where it's like, wow, look at how easily he beat the defense where he's going up with his right hand on the left side. And you're not thinking about, like, okay, what happens in the NBA? He's going up with his right hand a lot. He doesn't really shoot much with his left. You're not thinking about, like, okay, well, how's that going to manifest itself in the NBA when he can't just completely blur past every defender? Where he's going to have a shot blocker there to block some of these shots he's taking with his right hand on the left side of the hoop. Like, in the NBA, you got to be able to have a left hand. But it's tough because you watch clips back and it's like, man, he looks like freaking Derrick Rose because he's blurring past everyone.
Right.
You're not thinking about how exactly he's finishing some of these shots. Like, maybe he needs to use his left hand more. And I don't know. That's the trap in terms of scouting players, is that sort of thing. But if you go back and watch a lot of his clips, you'll notice now a lot of shots on the left side in the G League he's finishing with his right hand. And you've seen it play out in the NBA where he is struggling to finish the ball. A lot of times it's because he just doesn't go up with his left enough on the left side of the hoop. There's other things that go into those struggles, but that's a big one for him, is doesn't use his left hand enough finishing plays at the rim.
Right. The other thing is, I'm not saying that this is comparable or anything, but Skylar Mays started 5 games for the Blazers this year, averaged 8.2 assists in those games with the same spacing, if not better spacing, maybe a little bit better, because he had Jeremy, but he's had Jeremy a decent amount of the season. He also had Anthony for part of the game. I don't think Skylar had Anthony in any of his starts. And then last year during the tank, Skylar also averaged 8.3 assists, and both seasons in starts, he had less than 2 turnovers a game.
You're talking about a guy that's been in the league 3 to 4 years, though.
Yeah, but it's a minimum contract guy, 2-way guy. Like, we're talking about the 3rd pick, like a guy who was hyped as being the number 1 pick in most drafts. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's that impressive to say, oh, he's averaging 6 assists per 36 or whatever. Like, I think that's low for me. I don't know. Like, I feel like
When's the last rookie to average over 7 assists per 36?
I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm
It
just
just doesn't
saying that
happen.
it just doesn't. I just don't get the feel like, oh, it's the assists are a good. Like I don't point the assists out as a good thing. Like, oh, he's on the right track because he's averaging this amount of assists. You know, like I just feel like he should be. He's averaging as much as he should be, and the rest of his game isn't there either. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm willing to look at the top. Who are your top passers in the league right now? Jokic? Obviously, a little different. He's a center.
Yeah, probably Trae Young, Jokic,
Trae Young is like the
Luka.
one exception, I believe. Trae Young is a rookie. In 31 minutes a game, averaged 8 assists.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
is
he
the
was good.
he's the exception. But like you look at
What did
Luka.
Luka average as a rookie?
As a rookie per 36, I looked it up, 6.7. Pretty identical to Scoot. Then the next year it jumped to 9.5. Right? And I think the whole entire point here is that it takes a lot of reps at the NBA level to be able to consistently, effectively read the defense, to be able to make plays at that high of a level for others.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I don't think that Scoot is not on track in terms of playmaking, because you look at a lot of other rookies that became elite passers and they weren't necessarily better as a passer their rookie year.
Yeah, but you could also, like a lot of those players, I mean, I guess when he's played with Anthony, he hasn't handled the ball as much as he probably should have throughout the whole year, but
And when he's watching Jeremy Grant isolate constantly.
Right, yeah.
And Malcolm Brogdon.
I don't know, like, because, like, I don't know. I don't think of Skylar Mays as, like, some incredible playmaker or passer or anything like that either. And I don't know, like Chris Paul, for example, I think he had several seasons where he averaged over 10 assists, right? Like, not his rookie year, I don't think, but like, I don't know, you could just, I don't know, man. I think it's still a question mark to me. I'm not ready to say it's a positive that he's averaging that much, because I feel like anyone could be averaging that if you're running the offense right now, just similar kind of numbers.
I mean, he hasn't gotten much of an opportunity to like solely run the offense because he's, as you said, been playing next to 2 point guards essentially, with Simons, with Brogdon. They run a lot of isolation stuff for Grant.
Yeah,
you know, it's not like he's just de facto like they're gonna funnel everything through him. And the Skylar Mays starts thing, like, I think that's just small sample size coincidence. Per 36 as a rookie, Skylar Mays averaged 4 assists per game. Second year, per 36, it's 269 minutes and then 220 minutes, so not a super large sample size, but still a bigger sample size than the 5 games he started this year. Second year, per 36, 2.8 assists. Then he comes in 6 games for the Blazers at the end of last season, averages 9.5 assists. And then this year, in Portland, 7.6 assists per 36, right? And then he goes to LA, averages 4.6. So I kind of understand what you're saying, but I also don't think this team is set up for Scoot to average crazy assist numbers, because he doesn't have a lot of shooting around him. He's been playing with multiple guards that have the ball in their hands a lot, and he's playing on a team that loves to isolate Jeremy Grant. Like, so that's where I'm not down on his passing and playmaking.
but Skylar played with those guys
Yes.
on the same team.
Yes. He is a multi-year vet at this point. And it's a small sample size.
Scoot does have a few passes where I'm like, okay, that was an advanced read, but for the most part, I feel like it's just him passing to someone and they hit a shot or something.
Yeah, but I mean, he needs time to learn how to read the game at that level, because as a rookie, you come in, stuff's moving too fast, right? And we hear about players talk about all the time, where like the game's slowing down for them. I just don't understand, like, you know, looking at a bunch of rookies who ended up becoming like elite passers their rookie year that weren't necessarily passing the ball better their rookie year, but then ignoring that for a Skylar Mays 5-game sample size or whatever. I just don't understand that.
I'm not ignoring it. I'm just saying I don't see, like, Trae Young came out and showed insane vision, like was super good at throwing lob passes and things like that. Like that was an elite skill that he showed right off the bat. Whereas I feel like, or like Luka, you could tell could eventually dominate the game, whether that's scoring or passing. And I just felt like with Scoot, I thought the assists were going to be there this season. I've said that since the offseason. I thought everyone thought, like, or we always get asked how many points is Scoot going to average or whatever. And I always said a low number, like if he's only averaging like 10 to 12 points, I'm fine with that because I felt like his passing would be more advanced than his scoring. And so I don't know. I think for me, the jury's just still out whether he's just an okay passer or if that's a skill that he can develop into some of those guys you mentioned.
Yeah, Thomas Ramsey says Scoot currently played 400-plus more minutes than Skylar, despite Skylar being in the league longer. Yes, but there's more that goes into developing as an NBA player than just how many minutes you play.
They both got a lot of development in the G League.
Like watching film, having multiple off seasons, right? Like there's more that goes into that. But nobody would say Skylar, at least I think nobody would say Skylar Mays is a better passer than Scoot Henderson. I just think the expectations were too high. How many assists did you expect him to average this year, Eric?
Well, I mean, it's a little skewed because he's got hurt and didn't start for a while. But if he started the whole year, I expected him to average 8 assists and less points.
Yeah, see, like, only one guy in recent history has done that.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a guy, once again, who should have gone number one in a lot of drafts.
You're talking about a lot of number one point guards that don't do that as rookies. I mean, I just think
but once again, before the season, we were not talking about him being a project or a long-term thing. We thought he was going to come in, be the starter right away, and not necessarily be dominant right away, but like very good right away. Like none of us were talking about.
Yes,
him.
all that can be true, but in my opinion, expecting him to average like numbers as a rookie, assist-wise, that nobody else has.
But this is why I don't like
ever
numbers, because there's
crazy.
A ton of people who have averaged 6 assists in a game. Like I don't
like legitimately, if he started the whole season, didn't have Ant next to him, right? Malcolm Brogdon was more of an off-ball player. He probably averages it closer to 8 assists, right? You look at a game like this where he doesn't have any of those guys, gets 10 assists, right? I think part of him being a passer is, you have to talked about Trae as a rookie throwing lob passes. Trae's an elite lob passer, but part of that is you have to have a big that's rolling all the way to the rim to catch those lob passes instead of stopping his roll short at 15 feet. And that obviously is a reference to DeAndre Ayton. So that's where, like, I understand if you maybe don't think he's going to be an elite passer someday. I just don't think he's necessarily off track or this is bad in terms of his playmaking. I think the turnovers are more based on him trying to force plays, which he needs to get better about, and him needing to tighten up his handle. Enforcing plays, I mean, like driving into traffic, getting himself stuck too deep, and then turning over the ball that way, right? And ball handling is obviously huge for a point guard. So, like, the turnovers, I think, have been a bit of a problem, and this game is a perfect microcosm of that. He has 6 turnovers with his 10 assists. That's not terrible for Scoot. Like, if he's going to get 6 turnovers, like, at least he had more assists than turnovers, right? At least he had 10 assists with it. But that's where I'm not down on his passing. I'm not going to say I'm, like, super impressed compared to expectations, or I'm not even necessarily saying anything positive regarding the expectations he had coming in regarding his passing and playmaking. But I do think there is, as a rookie, struggles that go with a lot of guys that ended up becoming elite passers and elite playmakers simply because the game moves so fast. It's the NBA, so you're not able to quite make the same reads on time as you ultimately, as you get more experience, are able to make. And that's where I think Scoot is at, is he's still learning how to read the game at the NBA speed. And that's where I just want to see him after an offseason. I want to see him with some experience under his belt, because I think there's a chance next year he could start reading the game at a higher level than this and be that type of playmaker. And that's where reps experience comes in.
I guess for me, I am there with a lot of what you said. I do agree that hopefully the game slows down for him. But when you look at his game overall, I've just seen a lot of examples of having not the greatest basketball mind, and that is starting to worry me, because I do think to be an elite point guard passer type, you do have to have a really high basketball IQ, and that started to worry me.
Elaborate on the basketball mind not being
well.
There was for whatever.
There was a play in this game, and you would be earlier in the season. If DeAndre Ayton did this, you would be absolutely obliterating. That's all you'd be talking about on this post-game show. Jabari Walker misses a dunk. The ball bounces, Scoots, like just standing there watching the ball go back into the backcourt, realizes it's going back there, or that Bertans is about to chase it down. It's a live ball. And he's just going to let it go because he thinks it's an over and back. But he doesn't realize that if Bertans grabs the ball, he can just go lay it in. And then he goes and runs and chases it down. Like he ends up getting there, and it probably should have been off Bertans because he actually pushes him into the ball before it goes out of bounds. But like, it just, to me, I was like, well, like, how do you not know that the ball's live there? And even if you don't know it's live, you don't want to just stop and let the guy go grab it. Like on a backcourt violation, you want to grab the ball so it's an out of bounds play and not a thing. And it's just plays like that have happened all year, and it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like,
I view that more as a lack of hustle. I've seen multiple vets make that mistake all the time.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with him as a passer.
No, I'm just saying, like, plays like that just indicate to me, like, a high IQ player is chasing that down, knows you've got to go get that ball or whatever. So, like, yeah, you could, like Eric Olson points out, this might just be he has horrible coaching, which I definitely am factoring that in. But just the amount of times he tries to go in when it's not there, off the dribble, and knowing his handles aren't the greatest. Just some of the passes he makes just right to the other team and stuff like that. I see a lot of things that worry me long term if he's really a great basketball mind, which I believe you have to be an elite point guard.
I think you're taking him misreading the defense as not having a great basketball mind or a bad basketball IQ.
I'm not saying he has a bad one. I'm saying I'm worried about it not being elite long term. It could still be really good, and he could still be a really good player. I'm not saying he doesn't have it there. I just have way too many instances where it's kind of questionable this year to make me wonder if it is or not.
Of course it's going to be questionable as a rookie. Mm-hmm. Of course, like, I'm not even disagreeing that there are plays where it's like, what are you doing? But if the player reads a defense really well, makes a good pass, they look like a genius. If the player misreads the defense and thinks something's open, but there's a defender sliding into that gap and ends up throwing it right to the defender, it looks like they don't have good basketball IQ. But it simply comes down to seeing the floor and reading the defense. That's just where it's like he's a rookie for me. I will judge him more harshly if he's making those mistakes at the same rate this time next year or the year after that, right?
For sure.
And that's the thing with guys that are new to their profession or new to doing what they do at the highest level. It's how I approach the Chauncey thing, right? Like last year, what was I saying? Like, I want to give Chauncey more of an opportunity, okay? He's been a coach for a little over a year at that point, and it was a season where Dame went down with a core injury and Norman Powell was miscontent and this and that, right? So I was like, okay, yes, some of this stuff doesn't look good, but I want to give him more of an opportunity. If he's doing the same crap next year and shows no signs of improvement, then all of a sudden the I'm new to this excuse starts to fade away because you're not so new to this. And that's where I don't think Scoot is off track. Like, I would expect him to make those mistakes when his strength is playing at a super fast speed and then making super quick decisions out of that. At the NBA level, like, there's gonna be some growing pains there. So I'm not too, like, worried with necessarily basketball mind things. Yes, it may turn out he may still continue to struggle with sloppiness and stuff like 1 or 2 years down the line. Then I'll be right there with you where it's like, yeah, okay, maybe this guy isn't what we expected. But I just feel like it's a little too early to question that too much. Because I feel like a lot of players that ended up becoming elite passers still had some struggles their rookie year because they couldn't read the game at the level they ultimately ended up being able to read the game at. And if you look at them compared to their rookie season and compared to what they are now, you could easily say, like, yeah, they don't look as smart. They don't look like they have the same basketball IQ as a rookie. So that's where I have a lot of patience with him regarding that, and that's where I don't think he's off track.
Yeah, once again, I'm not saying it's anything that he can't fix or long-term. I'm just saying every other player we talk about how this is the area he needs to improve on. That's all I'm doing is saying there's many issues that he has that he needs to be better at next year and in the following years. And we do that about every other player. I think it's fair to do it with Scoot too, no matter what the issue.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done it all year with Scoot. I've talked about how he needs to change pace. I've talked about how he needs to get better finishing off two. I've talked about how he needs to get better finishing with his left hand. Like, I have critiqued him constructively, I feel like, all season long.
Yeah.
Like,
and
yeah.
My issue too is, I mean, I've been harsh about this, but I have a real issue with watching someone with that low of a motor and that low of effort consistently now for the entire season on defense and on hustle plays. It just really bugs me, and that makes me feel like, is this guy 100% bought into being good if he's having these issues? Like, we should be not talking about him having effort issues. We should be talking about him flying all over the court, using that speed, using that athleticism, and like making mistakes. Of course, you make mistakes, but to be like giving up on plays and like just letting the ball go by you and things like that stuff's been happening all year. Once again, probably because we have the worst coaching staff in the league, maybe. But like. Other than that, like, I mean, you can't. That's something that, you gotta want it. Like you're in the NBA now, dude. Like, you gotta play hard all the freaking time. Like, I just it drives me a little crazy, and I think that's why I'm a little harsher on him than I probably should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different conversation than some of the conversations we were just having. Like, it has been a problem to play devil's advocate. Yes, he's in the NBA, but this might be the most meaningless games he's ever played.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And for somebody that, like, in the G League, he's just always hyped up. Like, when you're used to dominating and you're used to playing in games that mean something, it's a little different to... I feel like it's hard to keep that same bravado when you go from that to you're a rookie in the league, so you're struggling, making mistakes, and you're not playing for anything. You have a coach that who knows how he's even holding him accountable, and you are in an organization with, at this point, a losing culture. So... like, I will always be more critical on veterans, especially veterans that have been in good situations, veterans that are supposed to set the tone in terms of an effort standpoint. That's why I was very critical of DeAndre Ayton. More so critical of DeAndre Ayton for some of his plays where he didn't hustle than Scoot Henderson, because it's like, as a veteran, you're supposed to lead these young guys by example. And there has been multiple times this year, I feel like, where you can point to veterans giving poor effort, and then you see Scoot do it, and it's like, it's a collective thing where every player should be held accountable for that from the coaching staff, and we should call it out and this and that. But to play devil's advocate, there is a lot situationally, I think, that maybe could contribute that. I would love for Scoot to be the guy to set the tone and the guy to hold himself accountable and hold the team accountable and be a leader in that regard. As a rookie, though, it's a little different than if he was a veteran.
How do you explain then, I posted some stuff on Twitter, the fourth game of the season doing the exact same thing?
He's not perfect in terms of his effort. He hasn't been all year.
Yeah.
Does that completely wipe away everything I just said? I'm confused.
No, I'm just saying you're saying like he's in a losing situation. They're not meaningful games, all that kind of stuff. Like I feel like
I do think his
excuses.
effort is worse. I do think his effort has been worse as of late than it was at the start of the season. That doesn't mean that you can't go back to the start of the season and find clips where it's like, oh yeah, he's not giving enough effort here. I do think he has a problem with assuming that in certain fast break scenarios where he's like behind the ball, like assuming it's going to be a bucket, so not sprinting, not running back, which is a bad assumption to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes me wonder why it hasn't been coached out of him. But to me, I don't know, like, take Shaden last year, right? He had those things where he put his arms down,
yeah,
and not finish plays or whatever. And to me, that was more. It seemed more like, because he had the same problem Scoot had, where he was getting cheap fouls called on him, and so like I think he just started putting his arms down as a way of like, see, I'm not going to foul him. Like, you can't call a foul on me, and that's. I felt like it got better as the year went on. He still did it sometimes. Like, he got kind of in a bad habit doing it, but I don't feel like it was like because he was trying not to have effort. I feel like he was just trying not to foul or whatever, and he needed to learn how to finish stuff.
There was other plays where he wasn't sprinting back as well, though.
Yeah,
my whole thing is, Eric, how many different players in the last 3 years have we said that about?
Right. Yeah, that's also true. But to me, if you want to be great, that's something that you can personally control. And I don't think if I'm Scoot, I should want to be compared to all these other players doing it. I should hold myself to a higher standard. So and we talked about his speed. Like, that's supposed to be his biggest strength, is his speed. He should be one of the fastest players in the league. There should be no reason why anyone beats him down the court or to the ball or whatever. Like, that should be the one thing this year we are absolutely not questioning, is his ability to get up and down the court on both ends. And I'm very disappointed in him that this is a conversation this year. I don't care about anyone else's effort or anything else. I'm just concerned with Scoot having that problem with how fast he is and how he should be as a rookie, giving maximum effort, like guys like Chris Murray and Jabari Walker as a second-year player, or a rookie last year. Those kind of guys, you can question their skill set and all that all we want, whether they need to hit threes or whatever, but we can't question whether those guys are leaving it on the court when they're out there.
I think there's been more than one play in the past couple of weeks where you can question Jabari Walker's effort. I just don't think we look for it like we do with Scoot.
Yeah, maybe, but he also is hustling his butt. Oh, what did he have? How many rebounds did he finish with tonight?
He had 22 rebounds today.
So
it was good today.
18 rebounds, yeah.
It was good today. But whole point is, in your words even kind of explain this, we are looking for it from Scoot more than anyone else. And I do think it's a little unfair to only care about the effort, like Scoot making sure he gives maximum effort when there's multiple guys on the floor each and every game that are giving piss poor effort, right? And it goes back to the bigger issue for me, and that's why it's like I agree with everything you said, that it's bad from Scoot, and I don't like to see it at all, and it's a problem, and he should take it upon himself to play harder. Coaching staff should hold him accountable. But to me, it goes to the bigger issue of this team has no veteran leadership, right? Everyone wants to, Malcolm Brogdon's a good veteran mentor. Jeremy Grant, all those guys have had multiple times this year where it's like, what is their effort? What are they doing, right? And they're not the type of guys to, like, play hard and then get on people for not playing hard, okay? It's not like a PJ Tucker. It's not like a Draymond Green's probably a bad example to use because of how freaking volatile he is, right? But, like, it's not a guy that'll, as DeAndre Ayton would say, bust that ass for younger players not playing hard. And it goes back to a lack of that type of guy in the locker room, but then in general, just the culture around this team is not good. Mm-hmm. If Scoot was playing in Miami, I am sure that would be less of an issue.
Yeah, he has to be on the bench if he did that crap.
Exactly. But, like, that's the thing is Chauncey seems to struggle holding guys accountable, and when it's been a major issue with multiple players, young players and veterans for 3 years under the same coach, it's like that's a bigger problem that ultimately, if Chauncey is not doing a good enough job, which you could make the argument of, in terms of holding players accountable for effort, then they need to find a new coach. But then also, when you pride yourself on losing this time of year, except for tonight, I guess, I think it does have an effect on players as well. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot wrong, man. There's just a lot wrong with this organization. That goes beyond just a rebuild.
I do say I think Scoot should be held to a higher standard than anyone else on the team because he was brought in to be the franchise guy or whatever. So we need to hold him to that standard. Whereas a lot of these other players, I mentioned this earlier, but like, I mean, DeAndre Ayton had a play this year where he didn't give effort on a ball, and we spent a whole post-game show talking about it, right? And so I feel like we need Scoot to be better than DeAndre Ayton effort-wise. Otherwise, we have a huge problem. But, like,
that's backwards to me. Veterans are supposed to lead the way in that regard.
But if we're holding him to DeAndre Ayton standards, I mean, I know Ayton was the number one pick, but no one still thinks he's like number one pick level, right? Like Scoot needs to be our star or one of our best players. I just feel like he needs to be held to a higher level than
I just don't think that's good for a locker room to hold.
I'm not saying coaches. I'm just saying, like, us just analyzing it. I think it is okay to point out Scoot more often because he should be better than those guys.
I mean, but that speaks to the bigger issue. You know what I mean? This conversation can be an endless cycle because you'll say that and I'll be like, okay, that's the bigger issue, is that you can't hold these veterans accountable for their effort because they don't give consistent effort. And your coach has a problem with accountability.
I think they should all be held accountable.
The whole situation is a joke.
But I'm a fan of if someone does that, bench him for like a quarter or something. Or
but I mean, you got to do it with the veterans too.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. Everyone, like I'm a fan of everyone. I'm just saying when I look at it and I see Jeremy Grant or something, like, not give effort on a rebound. And I know he's a bad rebounder or whatever, but I don't want Jeremy on the team long term. I want Scoot to be good and be on the team long term. So I don't hold Jeremy to the same standard because I want Jeremy traded and maximize his value or whatever and get him out of here. Whereas Scoot should be part of our long-term plans as a championship contender in several years. And so, I want a situation where this guy's like, I'm not gonna give poor effort because I want to be that guy. Like, I want to be the guy. I want to. I mean, you're gonna hate me saying this, but his mantra is overly determined to be dominant. And I'm sorry, but if you glaze yourself with that, you shouldn't be giving that kind of effort. It's just like the dominating thing. Like, if you glaze yourself as your mantra of being dominant at anything, you need to be dominant on the court.
When was the last time you even said that, though?
I don't know.
Before the season? Like,
I mean, he trademarked it and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Ayton saying dominate mid-season because he had a good game against the Atlanta freaking Hawks. Like, but I mean, it doesn't matter how overly determined to dominate Scoot is. He is not dominating right now because he's not good enough to dominate at the NBA level, right? And he realized that, right? So I'd have more of a problem if he was still preaching it constantly. Like,
I have just a small tangent. That's why I can't stand what Zach Edey said after his last game. It's like, you didn't even win the championship, dude. You won the freaking Final Four, and you lost the freaking... Who did they lose to? Fairleigh Dickinson last year? Like, and now you're gonna try to talk like I'm an effing winner. Like, no, you're not, dude. You haven't won crap, first of all, and second of all, you lost to a 16 seed last year. Like, and it was right for people to be skeptical of whether you guys could make the Final Four, and the job's not finished. That's why, like, Kobe's job's not finished. You know, like, you're up 3-1. What are you gonna? Job's not finished. You know, not. Oh, yeah, no one believed in me. I'm awesome. Look at me. Look at me.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what Ayton did that one game, like you were mentioning. And so, it drives you crazy. It's like, dude, like, why are you not focused on winning a championship? You have one of the best teams in the entire nation. You should not be happy making the Final Four as a 1 seed. You should be talking about, I'm happy we made it to the Final Four, but I'm not happy that if that's all it is. Like, I want to win a championship.
Yeah, this conversation.
If you win it all, then have that. Say all you want, talk all the crap you want if you win, right? But if you lose, who are they playing? Are they playing NC State?
NC State. They're playing an 11 seed. They can still lose to a double-digit
If you lose
seed.
to Burns and NC State and he dominates you, then I don't want to hear crap from you ever again, dude. Like,
I'm rooting for NC State, bro. But,
yeah, of course.
Like, 100%. And there's two things I want to say on that. One is, like, it especially annoyed me because, like, all I've heard is, like, this guy is so humble and has such great humility and, you know, and then he goes and says that. It's like, okay, it'd be a little different if you knew the guy was like a pump your chest in your face asshole than a guy that I hear every time anybody ever criticizes his game. People say, why are you criticizing him so much? He's such a great guy. He's so humble. He has so much humility. Like, so that made it even worse in my opinion. But then also, that's funny, Eric, because I remember Dalen Terry and Benedict Mathurin doing that for Arizona after they beat TCU in, like, overtime when they were a 1 seed and TCU was an 8 or a 9. And they were acting like that when they barely scraped by TCU. And I think... And I had the same exact reaction to that. You didn't feel the same way as I did about that, though, back then, right?
I mean, I didn't like it. No, I didn't like it. But
you thought I was being a little too hard.
No,
a lot of people did. And then they went out and lost the next game.
But that made me realize that, yeah, you're onto something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned from that. And this is something I wanted to say about Scoot just in general. It didn't even have to do with him playing this year at the games or anything, but I have thought about this a lot, especially every year when I watch the NCAA tournament, right? I look at like who's a really good young point guard or something. That do any of the teams left have a good young point guard
in the tournament?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Alabama, you got Mark Sears.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran. But, like, so someone like Mark Sears, right? Like, he's now been in the tourney. He's now going to a Final Four. He's had expectations. He's gone into hostile gyms. Playing in the G League, and this is why it's really hard to judge, like, Matas and Holland and all that kind of stuff. Like, those guys haven't had... I mean, the environments in the G League are nothing. Like, I mean, yeah, there's
That's a good
some
point.
games like Portland has fan games with fans and stuff. Like the remix has been cool. Those games have been fun. I know you went to a game. It
Yeah.
was kind of boring because it was a blowout, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, the remix have been supported well this year, and were exciting to watch or whatever. But ultimately, even in the G League playoffs or whatever, like those games don't matter. Yeah, you could say you won a championship or whatever, but like those games have no like pressure. There's no like like ultimate like doom if you lose, one and done, like like having to go into Dayton in a play-in game or something
Yeah.
and win to stay alive or keep your or NC State
Yeah.
now has won like what 9 straight games or something
Yeah.
to even make the tournament. If they lose any of them, they're out.
Uh-huh.
Like they playing in the G League, you never have those moments, and like some of the overseas leagues are the same way. So it's really hard, and that's what maybe took Anthony a while. He didn't have that either. He decides not to go to college and just stay at IG Academy and work at it on his game. So like I'm not saying that you're doomed to be that way, but I'm leaning now towards like Dalton Connect or whatever. Now he has the experience of being the guy on a team, making a deep run in the NCAA tournament, getting defended like you're Damian Lillard, for an entire tournament,
Yeah.
and just having all these defenses to stop you, and you still perform at an elite level. And so those type of guys now, to me, you put them on a team where they're the third or fourth best player now. If they're still really good in those roles and stuff, like I feel like some of those, and it's a little unfair because some of those guys are 23 now because they've been in college a little longer. That's why I was trying to think of like a younger point guard that had a deeper run. But like it's just, to me, it's just like having those guys that are battle tested is just it's making me change my opinions on some of these guys in the draft a little bit, and it makes me wonder just how. I'm glad the G League Ignite's going away because I don't think it was good at developing these guys.
That's part of the reason why I like Dalton Connect so much.
Yeah.
Dude just performs and will probably get easier shots in the NBA.
Mhm.
Like, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, but to like your point, like Scoot, so now he's on the fifth worst team in the league. We should be tied for worst record, but anyways, it's like, yeah, now he's going to go a whole nother year without playing a super meaningful game or whatever. So it's all got to come from within him, in my opinion. So that's why I'm a little disappointed in the effort, because like I feel like he needs to somehow manufacture that himself. And he still has time. He's still young. Like I said, none of this is anything that he can't fix or improve on. So hopefully, as the years go by, he gets some experience with more pressure situations and stuff, because I haven't liked how he's handled even minimal pressure situations, like handling the ball against the Hornets team tonight. That was just basically daring him to shoot and just sagged off him the entire game. Their entire game plan was to just let him score. And I felt like he had some good moments in this game, for sure. Obviously,
I mean,
the
he's
10
4 for
assists are
7
nice.
from 3. Like,
Yeah, and he was hitting his shots, which is good.
the
But, like,
conversation has been all season, like, can he make teams pay for defending him like that? So that was good.
yeah, absolutely. And so, like, hopefully this is more like what he is moving forward. But it's still, I mean, teams aren't going to change the way they guard him off of one game, so he's got to keep doing it. But obviously he knows that, hopefully, and yeah, so I just want to see him have that drive himself to be better and kind of make it himself, instead of like always just kind of, I mean, he hasn't even made excuses. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to give him a pass for not doing that if he's just because other people are.
No, I mean, you don't necessarily give him a pass. It's just it's also the environment should be better.
Yeah.
And that would be better for every young player.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't like having DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant as our veterans. Everybody loves them because look at the things our power forward and center can do on offense. Okay, well, they're both making max or close to max contracts. Neither are an all-star caliber player, and both of them have had effort question marks, Jeremy Grant especially on the boards, DeAndre Ayton in various areas, that don't set a great tone for the young guys. Both of them aren't vocal locker room leader types, right? They're not really the best players to be paying a combined $60 million a year to on a rebuilding team. And DeAndre Ayton made us win this game tonight, so also it's kind of affecting lottery positioning odds of being able to draft at the top of the draft. That's why I'm not confident in this rebuild being a quick process at all. It's a big part of it because it takes time to establish a culture. I don't think Chauncey's the right coach for this team. The thing is about next year's draft, so I watched the McDonald's All-American game, did some research on next year's prospects, man. Those guys were playing their ass off in the McDonald's All-American game, Eric.
I know. I saw some of it too, yeah.
Commentators are talking about, that's not nobody in this class has motor issues. They'll all play hard. They'll all bring it each and every day. They all work their ass off. It's a real... Just looking at some of those prospects after doing all the scouting for this year, that draft class looks good, man. I mean, even Ian Jackson, I know he was inefficient, but he's listed as 6'6", and is that quick? With that scoring package? That's a guy I never even knew anything about before watching that game, doing a little research on him. Next year's draft is legitimately good. Ace Bailey has a chance of being better than Cooper Flagg. Mm-hmm. I still have Cooper Flagg ahead of him, right? I haven't really put thought into a big board, right? But Ace Bailey, that one step back he had was just creation that I wish a single forward in this draft would show. Just the little step back he had at the start of the game, and they're comparing him to Paul George. I see it. Ace Bailey's going to be really, really good. Cooper Flagg's going to be really, really good. And there's some good guards, some good wings, and they all supposedly play hard, right? You just need more guys in this locker room that play hard. Unfortunately, I don't think Scoot's a tone setter type, but I mean, I think it's hard to be a tone setter type when you're struggling yourself. Mm. It's easy for a young 19, 20-year-old to play with a little bit of a sense of mental defeat when they can't go out on the court and do everything that they've always done. And at that age, they're not and shouldn't be as mentally tough and resilient in that regard as somebody who has performed and has been in the league for multiple years. And that's just where I wish we could improve the environment, get more legitimate veteran leadership around him, start building a culture, get a coach that does a better job holding him accountable for that type of stuff, because then I think the results would be better. So it's not giving him a pass for instances where there's a lack of effort, because those, in my opinion, do need to be held accountable by a coach. But it's more so man, the environment around him, I think, does play a part in leading to that from a guy that is that young.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, I mean, we got to... we're at rock bottom, bro, right now. Because it's just, you look around this team, I talked about it on a previous postgame show. What is the offensive and defensive identity? I don't know. What is the culture? I don't know. I literally can't even think of an answer for any of those three questions.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation of a team. So that's the thing with a rebuild is, yes, you're rebuilding with young players, you're rebuilding by accumulating assets, etc. But even if you have bad teams, you can take strides in towards establishing some sense of culture and how you're going to hold guys accountable and how you're going to do things on both sides of the floor, how you're going to do things in the locker room. Even if you're the worst team in the league, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And people will excuse us not doing that because look who they're playing. What do you expect them to do on offense or defense? And you can't hold them accountable because they're all too young, blah, 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 blah. Right? That's the excuses that a lot of people that love Joe Cronin love to throw out there to excuse everything that's going on right now. But the fact that I can't even think of any sort of answer to what our offensive identity is, our defensive identity is, and what our culture is, that's really, really bad. And I feel like we've taken no strides towards establishing any of that this entire season.
Yeah. And that's what this season should have been. That's the frustrating part.
Yeah. And, dude, I get frustrated. Like, I've used some clips and some videos of, like, them after a game that they win. They act like they won a playoff game every time they get a single win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cool, I'm glad they're happy and got something to be happy about, right? But also it's like, man, it's like a party every time they win a single game. There's just something about that that's a little off to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about this now for years. Remember, Tori, like every time they won a game or something, and we'd be like, oh, how are they going to do in the next 5? And we always talk about how like they always seem to act like they arrived, and every time they won. I mean, this has been happening since
that's a culture thing.
Since basically they won the Western Conference, or made it to the Western Conference Finals, and ever since that season acted like that was all they needed to do to be good moving forward. And that's both coaches, front office, players, all of them seem to just be content with that one accomplishment. And now it's like every time they win a game, it's like they're content with just that one accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, yeah.
That's a culture thing. And that's a perfect example because, revisiting history, what happened the season before they made it to the Western Conference Finals? They got absolutely embarrassed. They were the three seed and got swept by a team that, other than that one series, never had any playoff success.
Yeah.
Right? So they got absolutely embarrassed to the point where they came back with a mission. And it wasn't just about winning one game or just making the playoffs. It was about showing that they could actually do something in the playoffs. So they come back, they make it to the Western Conference Finals, right? And it was like they were motivated by their failure, and it wasn't just about winning singular games or winning a playoff game. It was about doing something, right? And proving the doubters wrong, right? The problem is they made the Western Conference Finals, and then it was almost like they felt like they had proved the doubters wrong. And then it's like they didn't have that same level of motivation or drive, it felt like. And there was excuses made for a lot of issues. Terry Stotts and post-game press conferences always making excuses, drove me crazy. Like, it just was a problem after that. It was downhill. It's been downhill ever since. And that's where they still don't have their guy from a talent standpoint, but also a leadership standpoint. Because I don't think any of those problems were necessarily because of Dame. Right? Like, because Dame wants to win a freaking ring. And you could tell he has that drive. But when you got Norman Powell next to him, slacking off on a bunch of plays, Robert Covington playing out of position, and nobody holding him accountable, and no bench, like, a lot of issues. And no leader is going to fix that. But at this point, you got to start building towards some sense of a winning culture. They also probably need to find the guy, Eric, to lead that turnaround. I was hoping it would be Scoot. That is the one thing about this season is I am less confident that is Scoot now, given some of the effort plays, and given that, you know, if he looked like a star right away, it would be a little easier to believe in him being that guy from a talent perspective. And people love to throw out like Sharp, talent-wise, might be able to be that guy. Temperament-wise, he's not going to be that guy, Eric.
Yeah.
Like, Anthony, I know he's tried to take steps in terms of being a more vocal leader, but, like, you can't be who you're not. And he plays hard. He sets the tone on the court. Like, that's the thing. People criticize his defense, but I think he's maybe been our most consistent regular minute player in terms of effort, right? Like, we've seen plays this season where the whole team is, like, slacking lackadaisical and we're down and he makes a diving play and, like, starts, like, clapping at the bench, which isn't really his personality, but he has that competitive edge. Like, we've seen him get pissed off. So, Ant could maybe contribute to that. That's part of the reason why I'm not like a lot of people where I just want to ship him out first chance we get so we can start Sharp and he can be the guy, right? Because Sharp's probably not going to be that guy. Ant could maybe contribute, but I still don't think Ant is the leader in a locker room type.
Yeah, I think we need all three of those guys to be just really good players, and then you need that guy to be that PJ Tucker, Draymond Green guy you talked about. Not necessarily your best player, but one of your most important players. So
I do think it's better when it's your best player, but yes, it could be a role player.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's got to be an elite role player, I think. But, yeah.
But, dude, this is why I want Cooper Flagg so bad, because Cooper Flagg could be that guy both from a talent standpoint and with his drive, because that dude plays his ass off. Ace Bailey could be that guy. Like, there's multiple guys in next year's draft that could be that guy. Like, they kind of need to suck next year. The thing is, if they don't suck, it needs to be because they're actually establishing an identity on both sides of the court and a culture. Okay? Yeah. Because I could see them making a couple trades and competing for a play-in spot without making progress in those regards, and simply maybe competing for a play-in based on bringing in more talent and young guys being a year older. That's not good. That's not good. Because then it's more likely that Chauncey gets an extension, okay? It's more likely that you never, with this iteration of the Blazers, truly establish a culture, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, we just need to build around Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton and, right? Like, that's why I'm so worried about going that path and them saying they want to be the Rockets next year, the Rockets from this year. That's not good. Like, I don't even know if they realize the problems that they have. Right. And that's where it all starts from the top down. And that's where that's why I've said multiple times, like, my only hope is they freaking sell the team at some point.
Well, did you see Mike Richmond's comments?
I was surprised. And I love how there's a lot of comments like, he's the only media guy that will hold this team accountable or something. I'm just like, wait, when? Since when? And also, hello?
There's also a lot of people that completely disagree with him.
I know. Yeah. I heard Reddit was saying Cronin should be last on the list.
Yeah, so anyways, in one of his latest episodes, Richmond listed his tiers of blame for this season. And so, you don't really hear this kind of stuff from media that much.
From anyone that covers the team, yeah.
So it was refreshing to hear one of the paid media to say this. But he listed Cronin as the number one blame, and he stated that Cronin has built bad rosters ever since he's been hired, and the onus is on him for predominantly the onus is predominantly on him for this season because he is the one that puts the roster together, and he thought this was an acceptable team. And then he said Billups. He just said Billups hasn't been good, which is true. And then third, he put ownership because he said he didn't think ownership was necessarily a problem, but that they have the ability to change 1 and 2, so that goes on them. And then he mentioned like injuries and stuff like that. But I don't know if there's necessarily a right answer. I don't know what you would choose. But yeah, I mean, you could say that it all trickles down from ownership allowing this stuff to go on. But Cronin obviously, well, I don't know, obviously. He might not have this ability because Jody might not want to pay the contracted Billups, but he does have the ability to hire and fire a coach, you would think. But maybe he doesn't have it in this situation, which would then go back to ownership.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know which one you guys would blame, but it was nice to see someone who is always. I mean, all these media guys have always kind of pushed off blame on any of the people who deserve it. It was kind of refreshing to see someone actually assign blame to the people that are in charge.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, it's okay. You haven't done Tankathon yet, right?
I did Tankathon earlier before you.
Oh, you did?
Guess where the Blazers ended up?
2.
Nope.
7.
Nope.
3.
Nope.
4.
Nope.
5.
Nope.
6.
Nope.
8.
Nope.
1.
Yup.
Oh, okay, nice.
Guess everything but 1. Yeah, we did it right at the start, and then it was like, oh, it's a good thing we won this game, right, chat? So a little bit of solace. Let me take a couple donations, and then we can do it again with you here. See if we can get back to back. MGJ123, $10 donation says, here is to hoping next year we will be able to root for wins at this time of year. Tonight did not help. The good news is with the lottery, you can never know. Go Blazers. Thank you, MG. Appreciate your donation. Sorry it took so long to read it. Me and Eric have been having a riveting conversation, but we appreciate you. Thank you for the donation. Those always mean a lot, especially this time of year. Shout out to Giannis Bondar, $5 donation, says, I hope Scoot doesn't turn into a star, but just an amazing starter, because how many star point guards led teams that have won a championship excluding Golden State? I mean, he can't be like, he's probably not going to be the number 1 guy on a championship team, but he can be a star as like the number 2 or number 3 and contribute to a championship for sure. So I think that's kind of what you're saying. I don't know, but I appreciate the $5 donation. It just goes back to the whole point, like the Blazers don't have their franchise guy yet, in my opinion. And that franchise guy is either maybe Alex Sarr, although I don't think Alex Sarr will be a 1 offensively on a contending team. I think he can be a number 1 guy defensively on a championship contending team, and that's why he's riveting. And has a lot of good traits, right? But Eric, I feel like their number 1 guy is in next year's draft. And I feel like there is enough talent in next year's draft. They don't even necessarily have to move into the top 4 to potentially get their guy in next year's draft.
But the problem is we're going to be, if they have their way, we're going to be like 12, 13, 14.
I mean, that's just the stupidest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get stuck in the middle without a guy this time? Without a star this time?
They're not in a rebuild, though.
I mean, well,
they're not willing to take a step
They're not
back.
competent. They're incompetent.
Yeah.
I hate it, bro. Like I said, I'm tired of rooting for losses this time of year, but now, like, removed from this game, I hope we're rooting for losses this time next year. Or I hope we're so... Like, it sucks, but literally the only freaking way, Eric, is to be bad next year, too. I hate it so much. But I also, like, we've done this 3 years. What's a 4th?
Yeah.
Like, we may as well do it right. And if you're going to commit to the pain, I'd rather gain something out of it other than being stuck in the middle. So I will take more freaking pain as a Blazer fan next year. I'll keep doing every post-game show. We'll keep hanging out with you guys. It's just the truth, in my opinion. Like, I don't like it, but the franchise guy for this team is probably in next year's draft.
So that goes back to, do we want the Warriors to move up to the top 4?
I'm starting to be okay with that, but I just feel like if they move top 4,
Curry's like 36 or something.
I just feel like they're picks in the 20s next year if they move into the top 4.
So would you rather have the 20th pick next year or like the 13th pick this year?
I don't think there's... much of a difference.
All right. But
Because
you'd
either way,
have
you're
it.
probably not getting your guy. I'd
You'd
almost
have
just
it.
want to get somebody in earlier.
Yeah. You'd have your chance though. You'd still have the chance all year. We'd have obviously the tankathon all year of the 2 picks again. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I just think like if you're not looking for a guy, that Warriors pick remaining at 13 could be really good in terms of getting a role player that could fit well.
Mm.
So like
Or then
next year,
trade
you're like
that
like
for Steve. Good
I,
next year.
yeah, I'd rather have the 13th pick next year than the 13th pick this year, and there's a chance that they could still be a lottery team. I wouldn't be too bummed out if they move top 4.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too bummed out. I mean,
The perfect scenario would be us being 1 and them being 2, 3, or 4. I think.
yeah.
Because then we get Sar and have a chance. I know we wouldn't get 1, but we'd have a chance of one of Ace or Cooper Flag both with our pick and their pick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not confident that we'll get so lucky that their pick is exactly number 2 next year.
No, I know. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying it would be fun for a year to have that chance.
Yeah, because I mean, dude, have you watched any Hugo Gonzalez? Do you even know what I'm talking about, bro?
I watched a little bit. Yeah, I did watch some of that game.
He would go number. Yeah, because he wasn't in that game, that McDonald's game, but he would go number 1 in this year's draft, and he's projected at like 5.
Yeah.
I mean, he would, I think, clearly go number 1 in this draft. You compare his game to Reese Shea's. I know Reese Shea's a little bit taller, but he is clearly better than Reese Shea, and Reese Shea is getting number 1 pick love right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the height is something that people always get caught on. I did see in the Cameron Boozer's class that one of the recruiting sites had someone else above him as the top recruit.
Who is
I
that?
forgot his name.
I'll look up a 2026 NBA mock draft.
It'd be 2025 recruiting rankings or whatever. Maybe some
was
chat.
it AJ DiBanza?
Maybe.
Because he reclassified to 2025. 6'7", small forward, prolific prep in California. You got Jaden Quaintance isn't going to be able to be in the draft until 2026 because he was playing in the McDonald's game last year. Or this year, he's playing in the McDonald's All-American game as a senior who's 16 years old. Which is kind of absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about the 2026 draft, but Cameron Boozer is legit. 2025 though, it's never too early to look ahead to next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Hugo, man. I like Hugo, but you got a lot of wings that are athletic that have a lot of offensive upside. It seems like from the little bit I paid attention to, just much more than this year. I feel like next year is more of like a high upside class because you got these athletic forwards that have some ball skills.
Is Hugo playing in the Hoop Summit? I'm gonna look.
I'm looking. We'll see who gets to it first.
Because Ace Bailey and Cooper Flag are.
When is that? I might have to go to that.
It's a week from Saturday, the 13th.
World Select Team. Melvin Aginsa's playing in it.
Yeah.
They got Chomchi.
Chomsky's, that's why I'm going.
Zoom Diallo.
Yeah. And that Malik guy.
Maluak? Yeah.
Yeah.
7'2"
7'2" center.
Yeah. No, I don't see Hugo. I'm disappointed. But that's going to be a good hoop summit to go to, though.
Yeah, man.
DJ Edgecombe. DeBansa's playing in that.
You say Jaden Quaintance was the 16-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in it.
When does he turn 17?
I don't know. But yeah, let's...
Are you looking at the USA roster? Is that what he's on?
Yeah.
Yeah, 16, yeah. Boogie Fland looked good. Derek Queen looked good, dude. I'd never heard of that dude. I don't know if he's tall enough to play center, though. He looked like he was like 6'9", 6'10", but...
Yeah, some of those guys might still be growing.
Yeah. I mean, Boogie Fland doesn't make sense for us as a 6'2" guard, but... Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg, Hugo Gonzalez, like...
Yeah, if anyone wants to meet up at that game, I'm most likely going to be going.
That being said, let's do another tank.
All right.
Here, I'll show you the results from the last one. Beautiful scenes, huh?
Yeah.
We'll do it again and see what we get. 14 New Orleans, 13 Portland, 12 OKC, 11 Atlanta, 10 Chicago, 9 Houston, 8 Utah, 7 is Memphis, 6 is your Portland Trailblazers.
Yay.
Let's see, we got 5 is San Antonio, 4 is Charlotte, 3 is Toronto, 2 is Detroit, and 1 is Washington. Boring sim. I mean, at 6...
Klingon and Edie, let's go.
Oh, God, dude. If we take Klingon with our pick, I'm going to freaking rage. Don't even say Edie with Klingon, too. Oh, it's disgusting.
Oh, sorry. We're going to take Klingon and Filipowski. There you go.
Shut up. Shut up.
Dude, you know that's going to be our draft.
Shut up, bro. Stop it. Please stop. It's just disgusting stuff coming out your mouth right now. Listen, if we take Klingon at like 13, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If we take him at 6, 7, if we take him top 10, I got a major issue with that. We got to get a guy that has a chance, even if it's like a snowball's chance, right? Like, even if it's a long shot, we got to get a guy with a chance at becoming our guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's why at 6, I'd be hoping Buzelis is there. Because if he can put everything together, he could be really, really good. Right? Or Ron Holland.
I would bet anyone $20 if we ended up with this result 6 and 13 that we would have Klingon and Filipowski if they're still there.
Why?
Why
do we need 2 more centers?
I just know we're gonna freaking hate our draft, Torio. Like I'm already prepared for it, man.
Somebody clip this and put it in the media tab of our Discord and remind us in like a little less than 3 months of this clip. Yeah, I got the same gut feeling that we're gonna hate our draft.
Yeah.
I got a gut feeling like if we move up, we're like gonna get number 1, and then we're gonna get Risache instead of Sar, or it's going to be sitting here at 6 and take Klingon.
Yeah, and we're gonna have multiple guys you like on the board still at 6 or whatever, like Cody Williams or something, and we're gonna pass on him for Klingon, and then at 13, Salon's going to be on the board for me, and we're going to take frickin' Filipowski. I just know it, dude. Or like, Zach Edey. Like,
listen, I am better with Klingon at 6, although I still don't like it at all. I am better with Klingon at 6 if like we got Salon at 13. Yeah. You gotta swing for upside with one of those picks.
I mean, we should have both, but yeah, at least with one.
Philip, dude, like... I get such strong bust vibes with Filipowski, more so than any other projected lottery pick ever.
Well, don't you also get Blazer vibes? Like with Ricochet?
Are those two vibes the same vibe?
I feel like they are. One of Kling and Edie and one of Ricochet and Filipowski.
Okay, gut feeling is we get Ricochet if we move up. If we don't move up, I honestly don't have the gut feeling that we're going to get Filipowski.
Okay.
I have a feeling like Atlanta or Chicago.
Please, yeah. Like, please, someone save us from ourselves and... No, we're going to get that. We're going to get the Cronin Olshey special. Like, we were sitting there from, like, our pick at 6 on, just hoping with every pick that went by that Filipowski didn't get drafted. And we were so lucky because we had him 4th on our big board and he fell all the way to 13, you know. We felt he could have gone number 1 in other drafts.
That last part is a little unrealistic.
I know.
But the rest of it is very realistic, unfortunately, which is scary.
We got Filipowski at 13. We almost took him at 6, Tori. That's what they're gonna say. We were debating between Klingon and Filipowski at 6, and we took Klingon, and somehow at 13, Filipowski was still on the board. There you go. They're both NBA ready too.
I hate everything you're saying. I'm trying to find a soundboard clip.
It only hurts because it feels like it's a possibility. You know?
There we go. I need to keep this soundboard clip queued up every time we start talking about the draft and Eric starts saying, Filipowski in Portland, Blazer vibes at 13. Klingon at 6. Yeah.
I just think there's too much buzz right now with Klingon as a top 5 prospect now.
He ain't no top 5 prospect, dude. What are we doing? This happens every year. This time of year, big men who don't have a ton of upside, whose games have translation questions to the league, do well in March Madness because they're big and because it's college basketball instead of the NBA, and they can just like physically dominate, right? Or their physical limitations aren't a problem. Yeah, and they play well.
You don't have to come out on the perimeter at all.
And everybody overrates them. Okay, it's happening with Edie. It's happening with Klingon a little bit. It even happened with my guy Drew Timme.
I mean, they've been really good. They've been good.
Like I remember, like Timme. You remember his game against Memphis where he just dominated them?
Yeah.
And a bunch of people
saying Blazer.
Well, a bunch of people were like, "So why can't this guy be really good in the NBA? Like, look how good he's playing.
Why isn't he a lottery pick?"
Yeah, like people legitimately saying that, and I'm sitting there as a Gonzaga fan who loves Drew Timme. Like, you guys, what are you talking about? What are we doing? It always happens. And it's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like nothing Zach Edey's done has been stuff that he's not capable of or hasn't shown before. But if they lost in round 1 or round 2, he would not be getting this hype at all because they would have lost, right? He would not be looked at as a potential lottery pick other than by Gavoni. Gavoni is drunk this year, right? And that's my whole thing is like, we got to stop overreacting to March Madness runs.
But he bases a lot of his stuff on things he hears.
NBA GMs have to stop basing so much off March Madness runs.
Yeah.
Like, you remember how many fan bases wanted Shabazz Napier after he won it all? And then he goes to
LeBron wanted him.
Miami, and it's like, this dude's a winner. Shabazz Napier. Like, all right. I hate it. I love March Madness, but I hate when bigs like this get drastically overrated. Klingon as a potential top 5 pick is crazy. Crazy to me. Like, why would you take him over a guy like Buzelis?
John Nash is too bad. You hope that guy falls just to support your predictions. What?
Okay. Eric, how do I say this nicely? That comment is very bad because we hope that we draft somebody that we think is the right pick.
I tell you right now, I do not want to be sitting here saying, I told you guys we're going to draft Filipowski. Please do not make that come true. I hope I am 100% wrong on that.
Yeah, like, what are we talking about, John?
Like, if we have Cody Lawrence and Salon or something at 6 and 13, I'm going to be way more happy than...
If we're drafting at 6... and I have a guy outside my top 10 on my big board, I'm hoping he gets drafted before our pick. Because that's a guy that I don't want with our pick. I want other guys that I have higher on my big board with our pick. So if those guys that I'm high on are still on the board because they take somebody I'm not as high on, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, I don't understand. Hoping who fails? Like, what are we talking about? I thought he said falls. Hoping a guy falls just to support your predictions. He said fails. Can't even read. But I still don't understand what you're talking about. Who are we rooting against? And who doesn't like to be right, also? Please tell me a person who doesn't like to be right. I'm not going to actively root for Kyle Filipowski to fail. I don't care that much about my predictions. If he fails, cool, I was right. I like being right. It's not much more than that, though. Like, I'm not gonna hate on Filipowski as he plays in Atlanta. I mean, shoot, I'm sitting here saying Brandon Miller's had a better rookie season than Scoot at the start of the stream when Scoot outplayed Brandon Miller today, and I was higher on Scoot than Brandon Miller. I had questions about Brandon Miller. He's answered those questions. He's been better than I thought. What are we talking about? The problem is a lot of my takes on the team, Eric, are negative, and I wish we're not right.
Well, it's like when you mentioned Kevin Knox and then he's traded to us. You didn't want Kevin Knox to be traded to the Blazers.
I was joking about him hilarious. Because I didn't want him on the team.
Yeah.
Like...
What? One Piece says, what is this year's Walker Kessler Mark Williams? It's probably Klingon, maybe Missy.
Literally.
But.
Yeah, where were those guys taken? Like 15 and 22?
Something like that, yeah.
You don't take Mark Williams top 5. I don't even think Walker Kessler in his draft I wouldn't take top 7. I actually looked at this. There's 7 guys that I would, in a redraft, draft before Walker Kessler. And that's with him exceeding expectations.
Yeah, I think Klingon or Missy would be the best 2 rim protectors. I mean, obviously, Edie can protect the rim. I don't like his mobility. This year's Herb Jones. Who do you think that is, Tori?
I don't think there's a specific player that projects like Herb Jones in this draft. I think somebody kind of close to him, but I don't think is quite the same level of defender. Jameer Watkins is probably the closest guy in that draft range to Herb Jones. In terms of a guy that like shows flashes of handling, creating for others, playing some defense and knocking down a shot and being a decent athlete, right? The thing is, I think he's a couple inches shorter than Herb Jones. So, if Herb Jones was 2 inches shorter, how good would he be, you know?
Yeah, true.
Da Silva, no way. Not Da Silva.
He's not good at defensive. I mean, if you're just talking about who's a second rounder, that'll be good. I mean, sure,
Yeah,
but
but
that's
he's
not.
not.
I don't think that's the question. Yeah.
Yeah, like Da Silva is known as a shooter. He's not really an athlete like Herb Jones. He's not a defender like that. I think he can be one of those like solid positional defenders that can guard his position well, but Herb is like very switchable.
This guy's a point guard, so I don't think it really is comparable either. Because obviously, like you mentioned, part of Jones's value is him being a little taller. But I think, I mean, he's not really a second round guy either. But I could see Devin Carter being thought of similarly to that. But he's a lot smaller, obviously.
Yeah.
But like really good defender. He's a better 3-point shooter and scorer though.
Yeah, his senior year. Before that, he was not a shooter at all. That's the weird thing.
Right.
Is like, what's he gonna be? But
His third year.
what was I gonna say? Oh, I have a question for you. If the Blazers had the number 2 pick, do you think they would have taken Brandon Miller or Scoot?
I think they were taking Scoot.
Even
Regardless. Yeah, they had already decided they were. Yeah. I don't even think it's close. I think it just would have been a little more obvious that that's their plan, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, what Tommy said. They didn't want to be the guy. They were not willing to be the team that passed on Scoot. Because if you passed on Miller there, no one would really be like, you're an idiot, you know, even if Miller's the better player. But if you once again pass on, if you're the Blazer organization and you pass on a better player.
Yeah. There's some prospect I wanted to talk about, but I forget.
But yeah, I also think that they're pretty. See, the more interesting scenario is if whatever team got 2 would have taken Scoot, what they would have done at 3. If then they're more likely to trade it.
Yeah.
Still don't know if they would have been or not. Eric also says, do I like Wagner's defensive upside? Yeah, I actually like it a lot. That's why I still have him in the late first round.
I just had someone tell me that somebody was right when they said that we were locked into 5th best odds 2 months ago. And I'm slightly triggered by how silly that is.
Who said that?
Just somebody on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Like, bro, we are 1 Brandon Miller shot away from being tied for 4th. How were we locked in 2 months ago?
That person wasn't sweating this game tonight.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Just because it ends up being the case doesn't mean it was
exactly.
right. So stupid.
Oh, Garbin brought up the locker room video after the Blazers run. Or won. I can't talk. Let's see it.
Are you going to play it on stream or no?
Oh my. No. like happy that they're happy, but just go watch the video, Eric.
All right.
You aren't ready for the first like 3 seconds of this video.
Yeah.
Let me know when you start playing it, because I want to pay attention to your reaction.
Is it on YouTube or Twitter?
It's on Twitter. I forgot we were on Tankathon scene.
Was it
It's literally their last Twitter post.
the Blazers?
Yeah.
I saw that we're sleeping on the Blazers bed tonight. That's real great.
Did you play it? Oh man.
They're having fun.
I'm happy for him, man. I mean, but also everything we said, that couldn't have been a better start to the video, given what was said earlier this stream.
Mm-hmm.
Literally said, I can't wait for the video of them celebrating this win like it's a playoff game. And then the clip, in the first 3 seconds, it's a whole Gatorade bath in the locker room for Jabari Walker. And guess who was leading it, guys? It was DeAndre Ayton. But, okay, not to be an old man, they're celebrating each other, okay? Happy.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not that bad.
Team.
If they're celebrating each other, he had 22 boards, they're celebrating that, I guess, whatever. It's just like... Really, where we're at is like
a sign that said 22 on it.
Did he?
Or picture? No, I'm asking if he did.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That's where we're at, dude. It's like we beat a G League team, and a dude had 22 rebounds, and we're giving him a ice bath celebration in the locker room as we win our 20th game in April. Like, it's like cool for them, I guess, but. Also, man, this is really what reality is with this team. I don't know. No, Garben, I literally just watched that just now. Like, but I knew. Every time they win a game, it's like such a huge, giant celebration.
And now they can be happy where they're at again.
They literally like lose 6 out of 7 games on a road trip by 20 or more points, including a game from 62. And then they come back home for a bunch of home games, go 5-8, and they're happy with where they're at because they're happy how they responded to that. Just to lose later in the season by 60 again. To become the only team in NBA history, right? So you can throw all the, it's a rebuild, look who they're playing, right? Because there's been hundreds of rebuilds over the course of the NBA. In its history, right, Eric? The only team in NBA history to lose 2 60-point games in an entire franchise history, okay? And not only
count the same as a 1-point loss.
Not only twice in franchise history, only team to do it twice in franchise history, only team to do it twice in one season. But they're happy with how they responded to the first time that happened because they went 5-8.
Look how they responded from the last 60-point loss, though. They were a buzzer-beating shot away from beating the Magic, and they beat the Hornets. So,
we just need to
look how much they responded.
Oh, Eric.
That's what they mean by generational. Generational losers. If they're real Trailblazers, says One Piece.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like a crotchety old man, but man, like you can tell the team is not used to winning.
But this is why I'm so worried about what Cronin's going to do this offseason, because I just know there's no way. I heard some updated TV numbers, Tori.
Yeah.
It's now creeping towards 70% down.
Really? Where'd you hear that?
Nowhere. Just
Nowhere.
Just heard it was now at least in the 2/3 range, so like 67%.
Bro, just look at our post game numbers. That's how you can really tell too. Is like start of the season, we're getting like 400 concurrent viewers. Now we're at like 120, 130. I'm not even complaining. It is what it is, and I appreciate every one of you that tunes in and hangs out with us, right? Especially given what we're going through.
What's up, Rich?
Surprise, Rich is here. Just kidding.
But anyways,
but like you can see the decline with our own numbers, and it's not a surprise that it's like it's not anything we're doing, right? Like we're doing what we always do, right? It's obviously the team, and I feel like we've probably had a 70% decline in viewership too, so that does not surprise me that it's approaching those levels.
Yeah, I'm actually happily surprised that it's even been as good as it has been without Madden for the third straight. Like, if maybe this is the first year of tanking or whatever, like, it'd be one thing, but the fact there's still over 100 of you watching.
Triple digits, I'm happy.
Yeah, every post game there's at least, and then we at least go like 1K for views on every post game show at least. So yeah, that's awesome that you guys are still supporting us at least. But
you know what's funny? Out of the last 12 videos, my two highest performing videos are my bracket picks and my big board.
Yeah.
Everything Blazer related, far less.
Yeah.
Far less. Delano Banton is breaking out is tied actually with the big board, and everything is less.
But my overall point is I just have a feeling there's going to be some demands this summer that we not do this again. And it's just stupid and not thinking about it long term. And like you mentioned, you've already made your fan base go through this pain. Why would you short the end result just to not have as much pain when it's likely that we're going to be having a painful year, even if you try not to make it painful? So I'd rather just go through one more year with a bigger prize potentially at the end of the tunnel versus but I mean that's what we've talked about now for a while. They look at it more like they just want to do whatever the bare minimum is to have interest and not lose the fan base because of the business part of it, whereas a lot of owners would be looking at it like, how can we go from this situation to a championship?
Yeah, how can we build back better? I know that's a political slogan. I don't even remember who that's from.
Rich has demands from whom, would you say? Not saying I disagree at all. You think the embarrassment and face saving is going to rule over tanking for flag? I absolutely think they care more about being good next year than having this again. Yeah. And that's everyone. Chauncey, Joe, Jody, all of them would prefer to be, if they could pick right now, play in next year or back in the same position, all three of them are picking play in. And that's stupid. I mean, I guess
playing
it's
versus what?
like being right back here in this 4th, 5th, 6th range next year.
Yeah.
If they could choose right now, just magic wand. Right now, you can be the 10th seed, or you can have the 5th best lottery odds. They're picking 10th seed.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb. Silly. Like, they drafted Scoot thinking he could be the guy, the superstar. They might be worried about him and maybe don't think he can be that. Which, if they have concerns and they're lower on Scoot than they were when they drafted him, then it makes even less sense for them to say you're gunning for a 10 seed because you don't have your guy. How are you going to get your number one player? And if you're really that confident that Sharp can be that guy, I think that's too confident. Because you seem pretty confident that Scoot could be that guy. So if you're now, less than a calendar year later, have your reservations as an organization about Scoot being able to be that guy, then you probably shouldn't be so steadfast in Sharp being that guy. Like, how can we have a high level of confidence that Sharp is going to be a top 15 player one day? I have hopes that he can be. I think it's possible, Eric, but that's different than having a high level of confidence that he can be that good. Listen, final part to that point. If they have a high level of confidence that Sharp can ultimately be a top 15 player one day, then there's probably 25 players under the age of 25 that if they were in Portland, they would have confidence in them being a top 15 player. The math doesn't work out like that, you know? Like, you're a little too ambitious, a little too confident.
Well, I mentioned this before, they still think Sharp is that guy.
I know. Bouquet says, why does Shaden keep catching strays? It's not a stray towards Shaden. It's realism in terms of it's really hard to become a top 15 player. And Sharp has to become a top 50 to 60 player first, you know? Like, he has the potential. It's not a problem with potential. It's a problem with most players don't ultimately end up reaching their ceiling. So if you're basing your confidence level on what they can become based simply off their ceiling, it's probably a little overconfident. That's not a problem with Sharp. That's not a stray towards Sharp. That's a stray towards this organization. Because that's the problem, is that's what they did with Scoot. They viewed Scoot's ceiling and were like, that's our superstar. That's our guy. He's going to be the guy to lead us. You know what I mean? What happened? Yeah, like, you can't base prospects and, like, have a high level of confidence in them becoming the best case scenario. Because the best case scenario, for a reason. More often than not, players fall somewhere in between their ceiling and floor. Not everybody ends up being Giannis or Nikola Jokic or Luka Doncic.
And hopefully, Scoot and Sharp are both them. And we're not having this conversation next year.
It's possible, but it's in a wide range of outcomes. And that's the problem, is like, you're putting too much on Sharp having to become that guy. They need to find a guy they can be confident, very confident in becoming that guy. And then if Sharp also becomes that guy, then you're cooking. Then you're in a really good spot. But see, they don't approach it like that. They approach it like, how can we claw our way into getting some viewers back and charging a little bit more on tickets and maybe getting a play-in game? That's how they view it.
This kind of is similar to your question to me earlier. But do you think, just like right now, in terms of construction and getting to that level, or maybe having a star on the roster or whatever, do you think they would be better off with Brandon Miller over Scoot right now if everything else was the same?
Yeah. I mean, they got Simons and Sharp.
Yeah. Just a little bit more balance, I guess.
Yeah. If they had If they didn't have Simons and Sharp, it'd be more of a debate.
Right.
But I mean,
Simon's probably more so.
I kind of still feel like they'd be better off with Amen.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I still think like Amen has been playing really good lately. Right, Asar's the one that's out for this season. And it's like Amen is impactful in winning ways without being able to shoot as a wing. Like, per 36 on the season, 15 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. For a rookie, that's insane. Shooting 59% from 2, gets to the line 4 times per 36. Is shooting 67% from there, which is, maybe a little better than I expected. He's just 14% from 3. If he ever figures out how to shoot like 34% from 3, Eric, he's a star. And he's like a glue guy, role player, but like the most elite possible version, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, Amen is just so unique. That's why I liked him so much. Even if he doesn't learn how to shoot, I still think he could become a borderline star. But, like, you could say, like, I could see him having a top 15 impact one day where he's not necessarily looked at as, like, a star caliber player, but when you take into account everything he does at the level he does it, has, like, a top 15 impact.
Yeah, I guess Amen's a perfect example of what I was talking about with Scoot earlier. Like, because Amen is doing it purely on, like, just playing his ass off, right? Like, he's everywhere. Like, I think among guards, he might have the highest offensive rebound percentage in the entire NBA. Like, that guy is everywhere on the court and, like, always seems to be in the right position on defense and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's I don't know. I think I would feel a lot better seeing someone who's, like, giving that kind of effort, even if the shot's not there,
The thing is, I even said this, I think, in the offseason. I said this before the season, too, because there's people acting like Scoot was going to be, like, such a defensive upgrade over Dame.
Oh, no.
You remember what I always said? There's always 2 things. One was there's a lot of people that assumed when Dame got drafted that he was going to be a good defender because he had decent tools, right? And was a decent athlete. Okay, and 2, there was tape last year of Scoot giving poor effort defensively. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's the G League, right? Like, hopefully he's different when he gets into the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, but there was a legitimate sample of Scoot having some motor issues defensively with the G League. And that's why I told people they shouldn't just automatically assume he's going to be a great defender just because on some possessions he'll slap the floor, clap his hands, and, like, flex and, like, try and pressure the ball.
This is also a case where athleticism, strength, size, because, like, Scoot's got an NBA body already, but people just think that means good defender. Over the last decade plus, I don't know how many times I've heard someone say, well, if we just had a 6'5" player at shooting guard instead of CJ, we'd be a better defensive team. It's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Like, yes, you can find defenders that are bigger, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're a good defender just by being bigger. And people thought with his speed, which is a correct assumption, that he should be better on defense. Especially, like, on the ball or in ISO situations. But yeah, I don't know, man. That was one thing that we always said, like, with defense is not guaranteed with this guy. But you have all these, like, big time people comparing him to Marcus Smart and Mike Conley and, like, players like that are, like, elite defending point guards, and like what? Those comparisons look silly, man. They were silly at the time, too, because those comparisons made no sense. Because if Scoot was a star, comparing him to those guys is stupid. And if he's not a star, he doesn't. It wouldn't be because he was like limited offensively and a great defender like those guys. Like I don't know, man, it's stupid.
Yeah, those comparisons made no sense. A lot of stuff that's said makes no sense. The next 2 years is going to be extremely interesting. Like, this is why I'm still invested in the storyline of this team, even though I have no faith in the people running it. Like, are we really going to gun for the play next year? And what does that look like? And at what point does Chauncey Billups take the fall? And who do we draft this year? Like, the people will say, we just started a rebuild, to act like they have time to screw around with it. The next 2 years are crucial for this rebuild, I think. Because this team is going to get to a point, even if Scoot doesn't become a star, even if Sharp becomes a fringe star or whatever, they're going to get to a point where with the players they have on the roster and the young players, they are drafting late lottery because they're in playing games, right? Mm-hmm. And if they haven't acquired their star by that point, like their franchise guy, all of a sudden it gets exponentially harder for them to get their franchise guy. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not something where 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they're going to be able to draft at the top of a draft and get their franchise guy that way. They will be better at some point. If they're better because Scoot ends up becoming a top 10 player and Sharp's a top 20 player, yeah, they're great, but that is very unlikely, right? That's why the next 2 years are crucial. Because they're bad now, okay? And in the NBA, you almost have to embrace being bad in order to be really good. Sure, there's other ways around it, but that's basically the deal. So people will act like, it's just the start of a rebuild, but they don't have time to screw around and waste opportunities to try and get their franchise guy, because at some point, they're going to wake up in the play-in, whether they try to get there or not, and they're not going to be drafting the top of the draft.
Not necessarily. They could suck for a long time.
Oh, it's possible.
Kings were bad for 16 years.
But Eric, like, they have enough veteran talent plus young talent plus solid role players.
Yeah.
Plus 2 picks in this year's draft. Like, it's very unlikely that they're this bad 3 years from now. Even if nobody pans out like people hope like they do. Because Scoot inevitably is going to get better. Sharp inevitably is going to get better. Like, even if they don't end up being stars, they're going to get better. And you got a lot of solid role players. And you got some vets that can score the ball. It's very unlikely 3 years from now they are a bottom 5 to 7 team in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you also have, in a few years, you start having to pay them more money too, which limits your options as well.
Yeah, so that's why it's like, you can't view this thing as, the rebuild just started. They're going to have to ultimately find that guy. That is the 2, maybe the 3 biggest questions facing this team. Who's going to be their franchise guy and leader? Okay. Who's going to be their coach / can Chauncey ever establish any sort of identity on either side of the court? And how do they build a winning culture that doesn't celebrate beating the Charlotte Hornets G League team with ice baths in the locker room?
Can't wait for that Malcolm Brogdon extension this summer. It's our big move.
MGJJ123 says, all those questions you have now will make your podcast so interesting going forward. 100%. That's why it's still intriguing to cover this team despite the position they're in, is because I'm curious to see what their answers are over the next 2 years to those questions. Because if those questions don't get answered with a positive answer, you're probably going to see Chauncey go.
It is negative.
You're probably going to see Chauncey go. And then the player thing, I mean, the roster is kind of a mess. At some point, they have to clean it up, right? Or at some point, does Cronin start actually taking some heat if the roster is still a mess 2 years from now? There's some interesting things with this team, despite how uninteresting the on-court product is, as evident by the viewership. That's what we're here to talk about with you guys. That's why we're interactive. That's why we do streams year-round. So hopefully you enjoyed that part of it, because that's really all that's left to enjoy at this point. Off-season's going to be interesting, though. Looking forward to it. Anything else for this marathon stream, Eric?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you. Sorry I was late. But yeah, hope everyone has a good night. Catch you tomorrow on Blazers Uprise Live, and then Friday again after the game.
Yeah, jam-packed schedule. Blazers basically play every other day except for a back-to-back, so they don't have another stretch of 2 days off until the end of the season. By end of the season, gonna have daily vids and other stuff for you guys, for you to hopefully enjoy. And then, yeah, shout out to Manta Sleep Mask for sponsoring this post-game stream. If you want to get a better night's sleep, you can try out a Manta Sleep Mask. They got multiple types of sleep mask to fit your needs. They have sleep masks with Bluetooth speakers. They have heating cup attachments, which are very relaxing. Cooling cups. Summer's coming up, so if you don't have AC, that's a great option. A sleep mask with cooling cups on it, so you can escape the heat. They make for a really good accessory on flights as well. So check out Manta Sleep Mask. Use the link in the top of the description box below to visit their website, and then use promo code Uprise on checkout for 10% off. Helps out the channel. And like I said, we'll be live again tomorrow. I'm happy my internet didn't fail me today. I actually got 3 new, how do you say it, coax cables, COAX cables.
Coaxial.
Coaxial. Oh yeah, that's because it's short for coaxial. You're right. Got 3 new cables. Unfortunately, I can't put them in because I can't get the old cables off the splitter. I was trying to do that before the stream. That's why the stream was late. But I'm trying to.
Strong enough.
Dude, they're on there. I need a wrench or something, or I just need to buy a new splitter. So I'm trying to solve my internet issues. I don't know if that's gonna fix anything though. We'll see. The internet was good today, so I don't think it's a cable thing.
I think I'm, we're playing the Wizards on Friday, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to get, super wasted, but I might have to make that a drinking stream for me, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle doing this straight up with another win.
If the Blazers win, you're drinking?
No, I mean, I think just either way.
That'll be scary. Just kidding. That'll be fun. I don't know. It's been a minute. The last time you drank at all on stream was when we fired Stotts.
No, I've had a few drinks on stream since then.
And what, you just didn't tell me? And I didn't notice?
Well, one of them was a stream that you weren't there on.
Oh, when you were live with Rich?
No, I think I was by myself, but yeah.
What? What?
This
dude Eric becomes unsupervised and gets wasted on a solo stream because I'm not there to notice.
No, I was just trying out some, because I filled beer in grocery stores all day, so I was trying out some stuff. Yeah.
Trying out a drunk solo stream.
The game before New Year's. I wasn't even drunk. I just had I was having a drink on the stream.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I was having 8 drinks on stream. But not drunk, though. Anyway, appreciate y'all.
I got to get ready for next week.
We're a mess.
Oh yeah, that if I am able to make it work next Thursday, I'm probably going to be drunk on that stream too.
Why?
I'll be live from Vegas. I'm going to try to like go live from a sportsbook or something.
Oh yeah. Wait, that's 11th, 12th, and 14th?
No.
How long are you? When are you in Vegas again?
8th through the 12th.
8th through the 12th.
So, the 9th and 11th, I'm missing. Or the 11th is the one I'm talking about. I'm going to try to stream because my wife and daughter will be busy. But yeah.
The 9th and the 12th you're missing.
No, the 12th I might be back in time. Not 100% sure, but I might be back in time to.
The 12th, we have 15 games for picks against the spread.
I know. That's why I said the other day that I don't care what days you stream because I won't.
Yeah.
I'll get my picks though.
Because we got 14 on Tuesday and 15 on Friday. And Monday there's no games, and Thursday there's like 4. Mm-hmm. I was like, we can either pick 29 games next week or 4.
Yeah.
And if might as well do 29.
Oh, we'll also have one Sunday, right?
Yeah, and Sunday's another 15. So 5 tomorrow, and then we got 49 games left for picks. Chat's 3 games ahead of Chase. Like, this has been a brutal year for picks, though, honestly.
Yeah.
Brutal year for picks. And then during the off-season, Blazers Uprise Live, our twice-weekly live streams moved to 9:30. 9 or 9:30?
9?
On a Thursday, that's tough.
Yeah, that's true.
They'll move between 9 and 9:30. We don't even have to set a specific time. 9 to 9:30 was when they'll start in the off-season Monday, Thursday, and those will be on the main channel this off-season. Blazers Uprise Live, main channel in the off-season. We'll still do some podcast stuff, and we'll do more podcast stuff during the off-season when I have more time, and honestly, it's more fun to cover the team in the off-season than the season right now, so I'm going to try and reboot a couple things with that, so that second channel just podcast stuff, and maybe even I'll let people stream if they want. We'll see. But we're going to have stuff for you guys in the off-season, lottery stream, mock off-season, all sorts of fun stuff. If you want to have a chance of being in our mock off-season, start participating in our Discord, link in the description box below to join our Discord. We do that every year. And I think that's a wrap for this show. Once again, shout out to Manta Sleep Mask. Website link in description. Promo code UPRISE. Get yourself a good night's sleep. Don't have nightmares about the Blazers winning games. Okay. But we appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night. We'll catch you tomorrow on the second channel if you're there. If not, hopefully Friday for that post-game show with Eric teasing us with potential drunkenness. And with that being said, we're out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.